This episode is brought to you by Blue Apron. For less than $10 per meal, Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. Blue Apron knows when you cook with incredible ingredients, you make incredible meals, so they set the highest quality standards for their community of artisanal suppliers, family-run farms, fisheries, and ranchers. Whether it's Japanese ramen noodles, wild-caught Alaskan salmon, or heirloom tomatoes, Blue Apron is bringing you the best. Some of the meals in July feature spinach and basil, pesto, gnocchi with summer squash, green beans, and fresh mozzarella. Spiced pork tacos with avocado, pickled onions, and elodie-style corn. Elodie, Kevin. Do you like elodie? It sounds like coyote, but I bet it's not coyote. Coyote probably wouldn't taste good.
You both went to me.
We love you. Summer vegetable pizza with garlic, lemon, broccolini. And I like a good broccolini, Kevin. Do you? Can you get down on that?
It's like verbatim what's
Really?
answer. Yeah.
That's weird. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/Greggy. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. That's blueapron.com/Greggy.
I really enjoy broccolini.
Broccolini's awesome. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Game Over Greggy Show. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the producer/seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Hello.
The pride of Long Island, Colin Moriarty.
It's good to be here with you today.
It's good to be here with you today.
Oh, it's not.
And the pure one, Tim Geddes.
Hi, Tim Most.
How are you guys?
Good.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do the rigmarole. I want to get right into this. I have a serious topic to begin with. Who's up to date on Alton Sterling?
I am.
I'm not.
You're
Can't
not?
say that I am, Greg.
Alton Sterling was murdered last night in Louisiana by police. We continue to do this on this show where we have to keep bringing up the same topics. Sometimes we stumble into them and say something we did in the first episode of the first show, and now we have new thoughts on it. But this is now at least the third one about how if you are a black person, you will be killed by the police. And I'm getting fucking sick of it. I'm very angry. I was very angry last night. I've been very angry all day. I went back through the episodes, the ones that I've been able to jump back to. I immediately jumped to Stop Being a Racist, episode 82, part 1. At the 30, every time we do this, I have the same rant where I'm upset and there's nothing to do.
May I, real
Yeah.
quick, ask you a question? What they don't even know what this is, so shouldn't you begin there?
I was going to start with this setup to it and then get
Okay.
into it if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah,
no,
of
it's fine. Thank you for helping host the show with me. On Stop Being Racist, part 1, episode 82, at the 34-minute 27 mark, we've been going around and around, and as usual, I'm sitting here being quiet about it. I have nothing really to say about this because I feel this at my heart of heart all the times. Nick says, after going through a whole thing, it needs to be figured out sooner rather than later, to which I say, which is exactly what we said on the Ferguson episode. Ferguson episode was, of course, episode 38, part 1. This was on August 25th, 2014. Then the Stop Being Racist episode publishes on July 29th, 2015. What we said in the Ferguson episode. We're back to where we were in the Ferguson episode. This is great, and it's great to have these conversations. If South Carolina can just hold on 2 weeks, though, there will be something else everyone will want to talk about, and no one will be paying attention to this. It's the same thing that happened with the Ferguson thing. It's like, this really sucks. Everything's fucked up. How do we fix it? Nobody will. It's too hard. There's no easy solutions, and we won't fix it. It'll keep going. Nick came in back, talked a little bit more, then I cut him off again. But then it went down to something, and 2 other events happened, and then it was Baltimore, and everybody's back on this. Quote, "Oh, nothing's changed. Hey, everybody, that thing we were super fucking mad about a while ago didn't fix the problem. Now, wait a minute." And it went away, and something else happened. This speaks directly to what we've been talking about with gun control. This is what we're talking about with police brutality, and it keeps coming up on the show, and I'm kind of at my end of my fucking rope as a human about it, and I don't know what to do with these emotions. So rather than do the thing I did here, I started actually looking into it. I'm going to read to you the article from the AP about this to bring you all up to speed. Then we'll watch 2 videos. From the AP, Feds open investigation into deadly police shooting. This is from Mike Kunzelman. Yeah, Kunzelman. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The U.S. Justice Department opened a civil rights investigation Wednesday into the video-recorded police killing of a black man who authorities say had a gun as he wrestled with 2 white officers on the pavement outside a convenience store. Alton Sterling, 37, was confronted by police and then shot on Tuesday after an anonymous caller said he threatened someone with a gun outside the store, where he was selling homemade CDs, authorities said. In a cell phone video taken by a community activist and posted online, the two officers pinned Sterling to the ground. Someone yelled, "He's got a gun," and gunfire erupted moments later. At a news conference Wednesday, Baton Rouge Police Chief Carl DeBatty, you want to say? DeBatty? DeBatty Jr. said that Sterling was armed.
That's a hell of a Louisiana name.
Yeah. Well, I'm just called DeBatty Jr. Said that Sterling was armed, but that there are still questions about what happened. Real quick, I should chime in. We are recording this on Wednesday of this week. God only knows what's going to happen between the time you hear this on Friday as a Patreon supporter or when it posts on Monday. I'm sure things will get worse. I'm sure there will be riots. Quote, "Like you, there is a lot that we do not understand. At this point, like you, I'm demanding answers," DeBatty said, calling the shooting, quote, "a horrible tragedy." The officers identified, I'm going to read the whole article, by the way. The officers identified by the chief as Blaine Salamoni, a 4-year member of the department, and Howie Lake II, who has been on the force for 3 years, were placed on administrative leave, standard department procedure. Authorities would not say whether one or both fired their weapons or how many times. Governor John Bell Edwards of the U.S. Justice Department announced the investigation by the department's Civil Rights Division. Quote, "I have very serious concerns. This video is disturbing to say the least," Edwards said. The shooting stirred anger in Baton Rouge, with hundreds protesting Tuesday night and demonstrations continuing Wednesday. Community leaders and Sterling's family demanded a federal investigation. Quote, "Mr. Sterling was not reaching for a weapon. He looks like a man that was actually fighting for his life," said State Rep Edmund Jordan, an attorney for the Sterling family. Quinyetta McMillan, the mother of Sterling's teenage son, trembled as she read a statement outside City Hall, where a few dozen protesters and community leaders had gathered. Her son, Cameron, 15, broke down in tears and was led away as his mother spoke. She described Sterling as, quote, "a man who simply tried to earn a living taking care of his children." Quote, "The individuals involved in this murder took away a man with children who depended upon their daddy on a daily basis," she said. The police chief urged protesters remain peaceful, and Mayor Kip Holden likewise sought to ease tension, saying, quote, "We have a wound right now, and we'll be healing and making the city and parish whole again." Police said they have dash cam video, body cam video, and store surveillance footage of the shooting that will be turned over to the Justice Department. But Lieutenant Johnny Dunham said the body cam footage may not be as good as investigators hoped for because the cameras became dislodged during the scuffle. Marjorie Esmond, executive director of the Louisiana ACLU, said if body cameras became dislodged, there are, quote, "serious questions," unquote, that need to be asked. Quote, "Is that because there was something wrong with the equipment? Is that because the officers were not trained how to properly fasten them?" she said. Right when they're needed most is when two of them malfunction the same way. The Justice Department will look into whether the officers willfully violated Sterling's civil rights through the use of unreasonable or excessive force. Similar investigations, which often take many months, were opened following the deaths of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, and Eric Garner in New York. Federal investigators must meet a high legal burden to bring a civil rights prosecution, establishing that the officer knowingly used unreasonable force under the circumstance and not simply make a mistake or use poor judgment. Many federal probes conclude without criminal charges. In the video, which appears to be shot from inside a nearby parked car, one of two officers outside the store can be seen tackling a man in a red shirt and wrestling him to the ground. Then the other officer helps hold the man down. At one point, someone can be heard saying, "He's got a gun," and then one officer on top of a man can be seen pulling his weapon from his holster. After some shouting, what sounds like a gunshot can be heard and the camera pulls away. Then more shots can be heard. At one point, a person in the vehicle asks, "They shot him?" as a woman can be heard crying. The store's owner, Abdul Mufali told the Advocate newspaper that Sterling was not holding a gun during the shooting, but that he saw officers remove one from his pocket afterwards. Mufali said an officer yelled "gun" during the scuffle, and an officer then fired 4 to 6 shots into Sterling's chest. On Wednesday, when a pastor told the small crowd gathered that the protest should be peaceful, 45-year-old Sharon Alexander, her voice cracking, countered, "We don't need peace. We need answers. We need justice." Alexander, who was there with her daughter and the 3 other relatives, said later, "We sound like a broken record. It's time for a change." Protesters and friends created a memorial to Sterling on the white folding tables and folding chairs he used to sell homemade music compilations on CDs. "He never bothered nobody. He was just trying to make an honest dollar," said Arthur Baines, who came by to pay his respects. One of the employees at the store said Sterling often gave away CDs or petty cash. He bought food or drinks for some people. He was a very nice guy, he said. He helped a lot of people. The man who claimed to have shot the cell phone footage, Arthur Reed, says his company, Stop the Killing Incorporated, makes documentary-style videos about killings in Baton Rouge. Quote, we look at ourselves as being service to the community. So now, before moving on to that, we will watch this video. Kevin, it's up to you if you want to put it in. If their video pops up here, ladies and gentlemen, it's graphic of a man being shot. Now, this is the one that popped off last night. Now, this is the extended version, 42 seconds. Nick, can you see okay?
No, that's okay. Oh, there it is.
So here he is being tackled, shoved to the ground, slammed on the car. Officer 2 comes over, holds him down. So that was the one that started breaking last night, late. That was the one that had the hashtag begin trending, brought it to my attention that this is happening again. Today, the Daily Beast has this video. Have you seen this one, Colin?
No. There is a dash cam footage as well. I don't know if that's public though.
Yeah, not yet. This is from, I believe the Daily Beast says, portrait mode. Hold on. Pause. This is from the alternate perspective.
Who is this from?
I believe it's the store owner is what they do. It's somebody at the front door of the store. So it's the, before we were seeing it, if you're looking north, we're at the north side now. We'll say it was on the west before. Gun pulled. There it is. Now you're going to, when they come back, you're going to see them pull the gun from his pocket as he bleeds to death and clutches his chest. There's the gun. Assumedly so. Obviously not shown right to the camera or something. So this has left me again angry and confused at how this continues to happen. The problem I find is that I today, when I woke up today, I was like, all right, well, this won't be the one where it's met with indifference. And how do we solve this problem? And what can I do as a citizen of the United States? And I don't have an answer for you. I did what any other human being would do and Googled the direct questions I had, finding no answers, finding nowhere to go with it. The best I could do that summarized, I think, what's happening from August 2014, because this problem is so new, is a Slate article called Policing the Police by Ladoris Hazard Cordell. Now, if I'm jumping ahead here, I believe Ladoris pops up in here and says something to the effect that, yes, she is on a civilian oversight committee, I believe, in her community in California, which might be, in San Jose. Anyways, I'm going to read you excerpts from this article, Slate article, Policing the Police. In just the last 2 months, Michael Brown, 18, was killed by a police officer in Ferguson, Missouri. Azell Ford, 25, was killed by a police officer in Los Angeles. Frank Alvarado, 39, was killed by a Salinas, thank you, police officer. Eric Garner, 43, was killed by a New York police officer. And Marlene Pinnock, 51, was brutally beaten by a California Highway Patrol officer. All these victims were of color and all were unarmed. She goes into the fact that we have to figure out how to stop this, right? And basically, training and federal investigations are ineffective responses to allegations of police misconduct. We know how to solve this epidemic. We just need to find the political will to do it. She jumps through again, still talking about how training isn't the answer, retraining isn't the answer. Retraining is useless when officers view people of color as quote unquote fucking animals. The word shouted by a police officer at a crowd in Ferguson protesting the killing of Michael Brown. All of the training and retraining in the world are of no moment if officers see the people they are charged to protect and serve as subhumans and dangerous. So here she has 3 parts of what she thinks would help solve this problem. Excuse me. First, police departments must broaden their definition of reasonable use of force. In 1989, the U.S. Supreme Court, and this speaks, aside from Greg, of why everything gets thrown out, right? that was going up for these indictments, right? And they don't go through, and that's when everything really gets fucking crazy and there's riots and stuff like this. This is speaking to why that's so tough. In 1989, the U.S. Supreme Court in Graham versus Connor defined the reasonable use of force as, quote, judged from the perspective of a reasonable officer on the scene, and its calculus must embody an allowance for the fact that police officers are often forced to make split-second decisions about the amount of force necessary in a particular situation, end quote. That definition has been interpreted narrowly by law enforcement agencies across the country to mean that the reasonableness of force is limited to an examination of only the amount of force used in the moment. The conduct of officers right before this use of force is never examined. Under this definition, officers who provoke individuals and officers who escalate situations get a pass. The definition of what constitutes the reasonable use of force must be expanded to include the circumstances leading up to the use of force, so that the inquiry into the misconduct sweeps in whatever the officer did prior to that decision to use force, along with the conduct of the victim. There's a precedent for this. This year, which again 2014, both the Seattle Police Department and the Los Angeles Police Department extended their definitions of reasonable use of force. Now, in Seattle, officers cannot use physical force, quote, against individuals who only verbally confront them unless the vocalization impedes a legitimate law enforcement function or contains specific threats to harm the officers or others, end quote. And in Los Angeles, the use of deadly force must include, quote, consideration of not only the use of deadly force itself, but also an officer's tactical conduct and decisions leading up to the use of force when determining its reasonableness, end quote. Second thing she comes with are city and counties must establish independent civilian oversight agencies for their law enforcement departments. She goes through the fact that this is in South Africa, Canada, Belgium, blah, blah, blah. Then it's already happening in the States. Palo Alto has one, Kalamazoo, Michigan has one, Honolulu had one. There's a complete listing over at NACOL.org. She is on the one in San Jose. The beauty of civilian oversight is that it holds police officers accountable to the public by providing independent review of complaints of police misconduct instead of relying solely upon internal investigations in which the police investigate themselves. Then she gives this example. In 1988, murder of 20-year-old Cara Knott by Officer Craig Peer, a 6-year veteran of the California Highway Patrol, illustrates what happens when independent civilian oversight is not part of misconduct investigations. After stopping Knott, ostensibly for a traffic violation, and I'm saying Peer. You know what you say? Peer? Pear made sexual advances on her. When she refused, he killed her by bludgeoning her with his flashlight, strangling her, and then tossing her body over a bridge. It turned out that a number of young women had also been victims of Pear's advances. And while they had filed complaints with CHP's Internal Affairs Unit, the Department of Internal Investigations dismissed their complaints, finding in favor of Pierre. Pierre is now serving a life sentence in California prison for Knott's murder. Third one she puts out here, and this is something that was argued in Slate that day, is that every single law enforcement officer should be wearing one of the body cameras. We all saw how well that worked out in the case here of Alton. She wraps up, all the outrage surrounding the violence against unarmed black people this summer will amount to nothing if we simply settle for more investigations and more training. There are steps we can take to reduce police violence, and they have been proven to work. Now we're back, though, to where we always are, of I don't know what the fuck to do about any of this. I want to act, and I don't know how to act. I don't know how to challenge a Supreme Court thing. I don't know if you talk to the individual police departments about expanding police force. Before the show, I tweeted a criminal sociology professor I know. I have not gotten a response. I was late on that. And I texted a sociology professor, and then I tweeted at the NAACP. Because I don't know what to do with this rage, this anger, this hurt, these emotions. And it's to the point now where I can't sit there and just say, because I mean, spoiler alert, again, in 2 weeks, a gorilla is going to almost kill a baby, or someone's going to shoot up a church, right. Or there's going to be another thing that will make us forget about this, except for the family. You know what I mean? Except for the people who are immediately struck by this.
Do we know what he did?
The initial call is that he's outside selling his CDs at these white tables, which he apparently does all the time, according to the store clerk. But it was an anonymous call that somebody had seen him threaten someone with a gun. So, and this is always such a sticky situation. Again, we're shooting from the hip here on information that's from yesterday in our world. Hopefully there's more information, more clarity, more insight by the time we get to Friday for the posting on Patreon, Monday for this. I understand I'm a police officer. I've been told someone has pointed a gun at someone, and I'm coming into that obviously hopped up on adrenaline. Right. And I understand that as a police officer, you're putting your life on the line to investigate these kind of situations. Now, what happens before that camera goes on? What does Alton say to them? What do they say back? No idea. But I do know that he gets tackled into a car when it looks like he's just walking around, thrown on the ground, and then it looks to me, and I mean, this is the whole problem of like, we're all outsiders, bystanders. We weren't there. It looks to me like he's either trying to put his hand behind him or just get it out of their way. It doesn't look like he's reaching for a gun to me. It looks.
I mean, my thing there, looking at that video, not knowing any of this, it's just when they say stop moving, he doesn't stop moving, and he had a gun on him. So like that's the only thing there is like he only pulled the gun when someone screamed he has a gun.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not at all trying to take sides or anything. I don't know anything about this, just based off that.
We're
video.
all just watching 2 videos and coming to conclusions. Don't get me wrong.
You know, I've had many issues with the cops personally, and understanding all this stuff. So it's like this is not okay, obviously. But you know, the cops, they have a job, and you're right. Like if they say this guy has a gun, he's waving a gun, that's a scary situation. There's adrenaline there. It needs to be taken care of somehow. This way, no, not necessarily. Tackling someone to the ground, when is that okay? And what really bothers me is this thing about they get to decide the force and how much force is, you know, acceptable for each individual situation. Like I feel like that kind of needs to be the thing that's redesigned a bit. And I don't know like how that happens, what Supreme Court shit needs to be voted for or whatever for that to go down. But that is unacceptable. I think that seems to be like the kind of the issue, because the police do have power over us. And I think that this goes back to kind of the gun control thing of, in this case, he did have a gun on him, and all the other ones, it seems like they didn't have guns.
Right. That is a great point, that it's not apples to apples.
Potentially. I mean, you never know. There was that case, I think it was like 3 ago, where you literally saw the cop walk up and throw the gun
Put
on
the
him.
gun, no, for sure.
So we don't know what happened in that scuffle, and it's conceivable that
well,
there was
this,
a gun
I mean, it looked like
placed.
he pulled it out of his pocket.
Yeah,
But did we see anyone put it into his pocket, right? We don't see that. The camera dips in both instances. We don't really know what's going on. We don't really know what's going on with 2 police officers. The thing that's disconcerting to me is there's 2 trained police officers who are not small human beings, seemingly from the videos, that can't subdue one single person without shooting him in the back 4 times. Or shooting him in the chest, rather. That's a tough pill to swallow, right? Regardless of whether or not this guy had a gun in his pocket when he was going for it. And again, I don't want to put myself in that situation. I obviously wouldn't react well because I'm not a trained police officer. But this reminds me a lot of the I forgot the gentleman's name, the guy from Fruitvale Station, the one that was over in Fruitvale.
The Bart one.
Yeah, Eric. Not Eric. Shit.
I'll check for you. Keep
Thank
going.
You know, who the cop thought he was pulling his taser and pulled his gun and shot him shot him in the back. It's just, this is a hard
Oscar Grant.
Thank you. It's a hard job for any human being to do.
We're putting a lot of pressure on police.
We're putting
a
ton of pressure on them. Like I would not react well in a situation where someone brandished a gun either. We all like to think we would. We'd all like to think, because we're conditioned by movies, that we'd go into action and have some sort of amazing kung fu prowess, but in reality we'd get shot or killed or worse.
But I mean, I think the thing here with the cop, though, it's like if the cop says, don't move or I will shoot you, and you keep moving. And I get that you're moving because you're scared and because like,
you're terrified, because you've got 2
down.
guys. Yeah, you got 2 guys that are probably using excessive force on you when they should.
I mean,
not.
that's the problem. I mean, he's in a bad situation. Like, would he have been fucked regardless? You know, history says, yeah. Like looking back at all these other things.
That's the bigger issue, right? Is it's not necessarily the gun control issue, and it's not necessarily the police brutality issue. There is an inherent racism. There is a racism that's the factor here, right? And that, I think, is the root of the issue that we're trying to deal with as a society right now. Is that there's an institutionalized racism against minorities, specifically Black people in this occasion, that we have to address. Like, it's such a bigger issue than any one specific example. These are what you're seeing here is sort of the effect of that bigger issue, is the effect of these of our society trying to keep these impoverished areas down and impoverished. We need to be going, there's a lot more that can be done in that regard. There's a great guy that we actually should try to get on the podcast. He's been making the podcast rounds, and I forget his name. I'll look it up in a second, but he's an ex-Baltimore PD officer who talks a lot about this subject, and I'll shoot him over to you so you can listen to the podcast I'm talking to. But it's fascinating to hear sort of the mentality that police officers have when they approach minorities, specifically Black people in Baltimore, and how they are looked at, almost preyed upon. And it's fucking terrifying, and it's absurd, right? And they always and I'm going to misquote him a little bit, but the general idea is, right, we always talk about statistics. We talk about things in statistics, right? Where specifically it's statistically higher that there's higher crime rates in areas of higher poverty, right, with higher minority groups. And he talks a lot about how that's a skewed statistic because the officers are told that, they're also told to go make more busts with people in minorities, right? So they're harder on people that have weed on them. They're harder at people that are doing smaller infractions than they would be in typical, higher wealth areas. And so they're basically, in fact, skewing the statistics. So there's all sorts of shit that goes into play here. That's not just the one-to-one connection. However, I do agree with that point of more civilian oversight, because I don't think it's very possible for police to necessarily police. It's hard. Like, I can understand putting yourself in a DA standpoint or a government official standpoint. You don't want to be the guy that cracks down on the police, because that's a bad look too.
Which is
I'll
what's
look
so
him up real
fucked
quick.
up. Yeah, you do that. I was trying to find frantically. I'd seen in the things from tweets today, there was somebody who put up an article of why black people don't, when the why, because like my whole, I'm with you on to an extent, probably the whole extent, not whatever, we're not there, but like anytime an officer approached me, it's no sir, yes sir, and I'm very rigid, right? Whereas like I don't understand what's happening before that video to make him continue to move and not do this or that.
That's the thing, is that, I'm loath to render a verdict on this as of yet, because the video seems pretty cut and dry, but there's a lot of important evidence missing right now.
Sure.
I hate this term of I was reading about this, the anonymous. There is no such thing as an anonymous 911 call. It's nonsense. They know exactly who made that call. There's a number traced. You can't block your number from a 911 call. Like, they know who made the fucking call. It's recorded. They have all of that. So that's, first of all, number one, nonsense. So you need to go to that person and figure that out. If it's made in a payphone, you need to do some investigations. You need to figure out who made that call and figure out what they actually saw. That's number one. That's important. So I hate this thing about the anonymous 911 call. Never heard of that in my life. Number two, there's a dash cam video. That's going to give us great perspective on this as well. And we're going to need that as well. We need information about what happened there. My gut instinct tells me that these guys fucked up with this guy. But he was armed. But in Louisiana, as long as you're 18 and not a felon, you can have a gun on you and you can have it in your pocket and whatever. You don't need to like tell anyone that you have it. It's an open carry state. So so you have to go into those situations in Baton Rouge or in New Orleans or wherever, knowing that whatever parish you're in there, parishes being counties in Louisiana, that you are going to be dealing with some pretty volatile people, regardless of where you're at, because they could be armed. So there's an extra tension there as well.
Sure.
The reason why I don't want to render a verdict yet, because I need more information, is this. Because you brought up the Ferguson thing.
Yeah.
What happened in Ferguson was a tragedy in the sense that, in a specific sense, that it renewed or reminded us that there is a lot of racial tension in the United States still. But people forget that Michael Brown's murder was done by a guy who was not even charged with the murder, because both the local and state authorities and the federal government said that he protected himself and acted in self-defense. And that's the thing that everyone seems to lose sight of. But we acted so quickly and so hastily when we talked about Ferguson that we didn't let the facts play out. And even the federal government said that guy didn't do anything wrong. And that's the thing that's lost with a lot of things with Ferguson, because I was the one who I think did the Ferguson conversation or talked about a lot about that. And I stand by everything I said in the sense that there is racial discrepancies in this country that need to be rectified. There is a deep-seated racism in the United States against black people specifically that goes back hundreds of years, long before any of our families were even here. And that there are brutal police killings. You talk about Eric Garner. Eric Garner in New York City, for instance, totally fucking just murdered.
That's
Choked.
ridiculous.
Choked down the street and killed.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a little bit of
What
reluctance
was
with
the verdict on that, by the way?
I don't remember.
I believe he.
Yeah,
I think no indictment.
Yeah, I think they got off.
Like with Eric Garner, I think that was a little more. But here's the thing about it, and here's why I'm a little more reluctant, is because with Ferguson, everyone kind of jumped into the fray and didn't let the facts play out. And if you read about what happened with Michael Brown, what happened with that police officer, like what happened was that both the local and state authorities and the federal government found his witnesses corroborating his version of the story, that he was being rushed and that he had shot that guy in self-defense, as totally credible, and found that a lot of the witnesses that said that he wasn't acting in self-defense not credible. And in fact, some of those witnesses said that they didn't even see it after all. That all happened. And so when you see that kind of stuff play out over months and months and months, it makes me a little more reluctant to say, like, okay, we need facts here. My gut instinct tells me what happened in Baton Rouge down in Louisiana is fucking nonsense. And those guys are probably going to get in a lot of trouble for what they did. But I think the general public might be a little more reluctant to jump into this and get a little more mad, because they might feel burned by what happened in Ferguson, when we all made assumptions about what happened there, and it didn't happen the way that everyone thought it happened.
See, I wish that was true. I bet that so many people who jumped in that was the thing to be mad about for the day don't even know that, okay, in the end, it didn't turn out that it was fine. You're not fine, but you know what I mean. That that it wasn't the same as the guy being choked in New York.
Right.
And to your point, I want to play a thing for you from. Did you see this from Hot 97 today?
No, I just the gentleman's name I was talking about was Michael Wood Jr.
Oh, okay.
So you can hear him. He's been on numerous episodes of Joe Rogan's podcast, but he's made the podcast rounds. So definitely look him up. He's got some very interesting and unique perspectives.
Well,
having been a
to what you
Baltimore
were talking
PD
about,
officer.
you know, how tough it is to get an internal review from the police and have an honest thing from that. Today on Rosenberg Radio on Hot 97, they were talking to a police expert about it, or I think former police expert, or what do you know what I mean? Former officer, maybe just radio expert now. And I thought this was just telling in a good point of like why everything's so fucked up right now.
As an officer yourself, it looks bad, no?
You know, I will tell you that it's
Well, can you say the words, it looks bad? I have to say this. This is the problem I have with police officers, and no disrespect to you. Y'all don't ever want to point at someone else and say, you can't do your job well. I can tell you right now, if I heard a radio personality get on the air and do something irresponsible, I'd go, that's a bad radio personality.
Yes.
He does a bad job.
Yes.
Police officers never want to say when y'all do a bad job. So and that's the reason the public thinks all of you are bad, because you won't ever call someone out and say they murdered someone in cold blood, it happened again. And until you guys start taking responsibility for your own, people in the street are going to be upset instead. So how about y'all lead the movement instead? How about instead of people rioting, police officers get out in front of it themselves, and you guys are the first ones on the front lines. That's what should happen. Instead of you struggling to say, well, I don't know, it could be, they murdered that man. We just saw it.
Again, jumping to conclusions.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that they're probably right, but that's not the way our system works. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. They have to be indicted and they have to be tried by a jury of their peers. So I don't agree with that particular approach either,
I don't agree
because
with that at all.
there is significant information missing. Are they going into what did the police officers see before this happened? Was the guy brandishing a gun? What did it like? And again, because this is literally 24 or 36 hours old, we just don't have all the information yet. There's so much information missing. I don't. My instinct, if someone, and I hate to use this terminology with this kind of stuff, if someone put a gun in my head and said, these guys fucking murdered this guy or not, I'd be like, yeah, they probably did. You know, but I just don't know. How did they know? Like, there's certain things in that video where I'm like, okay, how did they know where the gun was? That guy went right to the gun and just got it right out of his pocket. Did the guy reach for, like, there's
I mean, it's
things
possible they saw it. Right?
Yeah,
It's
they,
possible
Well,
they
look,
saw
I mean, it
the
looked like
butt
he
of
was
it.
reaching, like as he was bleeding, it looked like he was reaching for that pocket.
and like
I knew from looking at that video, I thought the gun was in that pocket because it looked like he was reaching for that.
And
pocket.
my take on it was, I'm sorry, I'm still.
I want to say, okay, just so I'm clear, like that maybe not what happened. Maybe that's probably not what happened. But there's all of this information we don't have. This shit is a tragedy. When people die, it's a tragedy, and it's serious. But so too are there other factors that have to be taken into consideration. We cannot jump to conclusions. Mob justice is not the solution to this, you know. And we saw how that played out in Ferguson. That city was fucking destroyed.
Yeah.
And a state and local jurisdiction refused to indict the man, and the Department of Justice said he didn't do anything other than act in self-defense. But we fucking raised the earth for months over this thing. And I'm not saying that Michael Brown was a fucking criminal. You know, I'm not saying Michael Brown deserved to die. What I'm saying is that cop made a split-second decision in that time. And as the son of a fucking civil servant, my dad is a New York City fireman, I know that these people go out every day and risk their lives, and a lot of people don't appreciate that. There's more than one side to this equation. So while, you know, I think Marlene Pinnock, who's the woman you mentioned here, I think she was the one that was like clearly pulled out of her car and like beaten for no reason. That's a fucking terrible thing. Eric Garner, it's a terrible thing, but not all of these things are created equal either.
100%. And
so we have to just take it on a case by case basis. I'm not excusing police officers like Tim. I've had bad experiences with cops in my time too. And I understand why people don't trust them, and I certainly understand why minorities and Black America do not have a trust for cops. But we cannot jump to conclusions because we need all of the information. That is going to strengthen the argument later on, and that is going to strengthen the case, and not put all of these things together just to make it numerically stronger when all of them aren't created equal. We need more information, and hopefully, like Greg said, by the time this publishes and by the time everyone sees this on YouTube, there is more information. But I am not comfortable after what happened in Ferguson to just jump to conclusions and say like this is the way it went down.
Sure, I feel like the confusion comes in, and some of the fear and anger comes in where you feel like the cops can't get. There's no fair trial being given to these cops, right? Like
That's the problem when it's so clear a guy gets choked to death and nothing there.
And nothing happens. Or again, I should really know these, but what was the other incident where the guy was in the back of a squad, like a paddy wagon, and they were like bouncing him back and forth, and he suffered like brain damage from it?
Yeah, that sounds familiar. I mean, that's the thing, dude. Is there all.
Slamming his head.
Did it?
I think so.
That's my point. I don't know.
But this is
With the guy that got choked out, he would continue to resist. So it's like, yeah, it's sad, but why would you resist?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, and
Like,
this
he
is
was illegally selling cigarettes on the street.
yeah, not worthy of a death penalty, certainly.
Right, but-
Maybe a ticket, but like, and New York City cops. I mean, I come from New York. They very bad reputation. You know, like not so much post 9/11, but people have to remember in the 70s and 80s, New York City was a shithole, like a shithole, and it was brought back through tough policing, through all that kind of stuff with Rudy Giuliani and all those guys. After decades of total, like you guys would not recognize New York City. Like the stories my dad tells me about New York Cities in the 70s and 80s, like it was unrecognizable. So like all I'm saying is there a racism problem in the United States? Fuck yeah, there's a racism problem in the United States. Is what happened in Ferguson, regardless of what happened with Michael Brown and that cop there, and what happened with the indictment and all that kind of stuff, was that an indicative of a segment of society that has been long brought down and long felt like no one listens to them? Yes. Is the reaction there reasonable, regardless of what happened to Michael Brown? Yeah, it is, and I understand why that happened, and that's what I said on the Ferguson episode, was that we have to deal with this shit because there's an underlying racial injustice in the United States. That's true. But we have to take these things on a case-by-case basis. And what's unfortunate, when I was reading about this, there were two things I was looking for in the stories. And it took me a while to find the answers. I had actually to go to multiple things. I was like, were these cops white? It took me 3 stories to find that. I couldn't believe that, number one. Because I was like, if they're not white, if they're actually black, then this has a whole nother connotation, which is just as interesting and dynamic and brings it into a left fucking direction about policing in the United States. But they were white, so I was like, okay, this is going to follow the main through line that we've been dealing with for a few years with policing, with white policemen policing what seems to be black neighborhoods or racially diverse neighborhoods, which is neither here nor there, but probably not the right solution, right? And the second thing was, did they have body cams on? And they did. And that was a major thing too. The problem with policing the police officers, policing the police, as the story says, is that it's all on a local and state level. Like we don't have a federal police force in the United States. They're the FBI, and they don't deal with local crimes. That's not what they do. So, so it's hard to change everything. It's a piecemeal, slow approach. It's going to take patience, but I understand why the patience is waning when this kind of shit happens. I also feel like this shit has been happening forever, unfortunately, and that we're more heightened because of social media and all that kind of stuff as well. It doesn't make it right or wrong. It just says that that's the way it is as well. But I just feel like these problems need to be dealt with, and I understand the anger, and I would like to contribute to a positive solution as well. I just don't know what the positive solution is, because it doesn't seem like with many of these cases that it's so cut and dry. Like the BART shooting was cut and dry, right? It was an accident apparently, but that guy was fucking murdered, in cold blood.
Didn't he go to jail?
I think that cop was. You can look it up. Maybe I think that cop did go away.
Yeah.
But again, with the Michael Brown thing, when you jump to conclusions, it makes the investigation more difficult, and you have to, but I get the anger, and I think we all feel that anger in a lot of different ways. I hate to make it more political than it is, but like, I feel that anger in a similar way about like the police policing the police, right? Like Hillary Clinton
or the FBI.
Like Hillary Clinton,
not indicted,
just not indicted by the FBI and by the
no
Department
problem.
of Justice. There's nothing shady about that either. When there's no outside, of course they're not going to go after the Clintons. Of course they're not. But if you did that, you would go away. And what the curious thing about this is, like,
He
if
was
what
found
happened,
guilty, by the way. The BART shooting. Cop in the BART shooting. Yeah.
look up the thing with Michael Brown and see what the situation is with that over there. Like, what if anyone was indicted at all?
He was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter and not guilty of second-degree murder and voluntary manslaughter.
Right.
Sorry.
So anyway, like what I'm saying is that we have it in the United States, I think, and maybe in a lot of places. Certainly in a lot of places actually, a problem of just complete corruption, a problem of the right thing not being done, of justice. The beauty of justice. New York State's flag is justice holding the scales, or whatever, and she has a blindfold on. That the entire idea of that is like the scales of justice, like you feel what's right, like you don't see, you don't. And we've lost sight of how to do that in the United States, and unfortunately, in socioeconomic ways, in ways of life and death, in ways of education and poverty and all these things, the injustice is pointed downward at the people that are least able to protect themselves or make a better life for themselves or their families, which typically in the United States, unfortunately, is in urban areas and sometimes in minority-dominated areas where they just aren't getting a fair shake, and it's not right, And so regardless of the case-by-case basis of all these things, it's indicative of a problem, a massive societal problem in the United States. Racism didn't die with the Civil War. It didn't die with the end of Jim Crow. It didn't die with the end of Separate but Equal or Brown versus the Board of Education. It didn't die in 1964 with the Civil Rights Act. It didn't die with any of these things. It's still alive in 2016. 240 years after the founding, and it's a problem.
And I think that that's the one thing that is for sure 100% true that we can tell from these videos and stuff is these things keep happening. People have cameras on their phones. So we're going to keep getting these videos and they're going to keep going viral on the internet and people are going to feel and see the racism. No matter what happens, this guy was targeted. Like no matter what it ends up being, like this video is indicative of an issue. So I think that like that is a fact. There's no arguing that. So
way back to where we were saying like, how'd they know the gun was in the pocket or whatever? My belief in what was seen, and this is again in the heat of the moment. I understand you're a journalist, and you're an officer. From what it looked like for me when he's finally on the ground, his right arm starts to go down. I don't think to reach for the gun. I think to put it aside or go behind his back. And again, I'm reading off of wobbly webcam footage from a car. Who the fuck knows? But I assume they saw the handle of the gun.
Yeah.
And then thought he was reaching for it. But it isn't that. He's reaching for a gun, right? What is the quote exactly? I think it's gun. He has a gun. He has a gun. He's got a gun. You know what I mean? And I don't know.
Yeah.
And to just be clear about, I'm sorry. No, please go.
I'm sorry. So yeah, and to be clear also, because as this information is still unfolding, I saw one news screenshot. Well, last night when it was all popping off, the photos everybody was putting up and saying, make sure the media uses this, make sure the media uses this, was him smiling out in the park or whatever, a barbecue out with his kids, whatever the fuck it was. And then I saw the one screen cap on Oga this morning of it being reported on, and it is him in an orange jumpsuit from at some point when he was incarcerated or in jail or whatever. So I'm not saying he's this, perfect individual. I don't know. I assume no one is a perfect individual. I am saying that it just seems like this was a bit excessive.
And this is why I want to be, this is the reason, going back to the Michael Brown killing. Michael Brown only was an 18-year-old boy, and Ferguson obviously didn't deserve to die for what he did, but did go, the reason that I want to say, like, we got to wait for more information. We have to wait for more evidence. We have to wait for some more conclusive things from people that know a lot more about us, about how to deal with these kinds of things than we do, criminologists or whatever, and, professionals. In the Ferguson shooting, here's what it says on Wikipedia about witness accounts. Multiple witnesses saw part or all the events and have given interviews to the media, testified to the grand jury, and were interviewed by the U.S. Department of Justice. The witness accounts were conflicting on various points. David A. Klinger, a criminologist at the University of Missouri St. Louis, said the eyewitness testimony often differs from witness to witness, a phenomenon commonly known as Rashomon effect. An Associated Press review of the grand jury found that there were numerous problems in the witness testimony, including statements that were inconsistent, fabricated, or provably wrong. Several of the witnesses admitted changing their testimony to fit released evidence or other witness statements. Prosecuting attorney Robert McCullough said, quote, "I thought it was important to present anybody and everybody, and some that were, yes, clearly not telling the truth. No question about it," end quote. The Department of Justice investigation into the shooting determined that witnesses who corroborated Wilson's account were credible, with while those who contradicted his account were not. The witnesses that claimed Brown was surrendering or did not move toward Wilson were not credible. The report stated that the claims were inconsistent with the physical evidence, other witness statements, and in some cases prior statements from the same witness. No witness statements that pointed to Wilson's guilt were determined to be credible. None from the Department of Justice. 24 statements were determined to lack any credibility, while 8 which were found credible corroborated Wilson's account. 9 did not completely contradict or corroborate Wilson's account. Several witnesses reported fear of reprisals from the community for providing evidence that corroborated Wilson's account. So this is why you don't get into this problem, because I don't know if Wilson really shot the man or not, but the Department of Justice, the federal government, came in and said that this guy didn't do anything, and or at least they don't have the information that they need to beyond a reasonable doubt to even indict the man or think that they're going to get that and all that kind of stuff. So all I'm saying is that this is another component of the problem, is like mob mentality, mob justice. This happened. We immediately jumped to conclusions, all this kind of stuff. I'm not saying that these guys didn't do anything wrong. I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know.
Again, another perfect example of that is like what my statements earlier, right? Where I know the very first day facts of the case. I have no idea how they played out, right? I have no idea who got indicted for what, right? Because I don't know. I don't take the time to actually figure it out. And that's why to your original point of what can we do? We can keep talking about it because that's what we have to do. We should have Kevin look those up right now, and we should be able to figure out who went to jail for what and whether or not that was rational. Like Colin, that blew my mind. I thought those guys, I had no idea that's how the case in Ferguson ended.
Because we all got distracted by something else.
Or we all got distracted by the other.
We also all made assumptions. I certainly made an assumption.
Right.
I was like, that guy fucking murdered that dude. Everyone saw it. And that's the end of that. And what I realized is that we could take some sociological things out of what happened there. We can take some racial things out of what happened there. We can certainly see that there's a boiling point in the United States in these communities for sure, regardless of what or what didn't happen to Michael Brown. But what we know based on the local and state police and what we know based on the federal government and the Department of Justice, which is quite insistent on going after people that have civil rights violations and all these kinds of things and hate crimes and stuff like that, found the man that he didn't even want to indict him. And that's important. And it's sad that a lot of people don't know that happened. In fact, I really remember not knowing that until like a little while ago, where I was reading about it. I'm like, what? You know, like, and that kind of changed my mind on it. That's why, like, I don't want to go, if the topic is racial injustice, if the topic is there's an uneven playing field and all these kinds of things, fuck yeah, there is. Of course there is. That's demonstrable every day in the United States. Everyone sees that. If that man was white, that might not have ever happened at all. Those police officers might have went at him in a very different way. All of that's true. Mm-hmm. All I'm saying is that let's just wait to see what the fuck it says.
For the record, in my mind, the topic is why do black people keep getting shot and cops keep getting away with it? The answer, I believe, is in here in terms of what reasonable doubt, or not reasonable doubt, what excessive force is based on this Graham versus Connor thing. Because that's what I didn't understand in terms of whether it's Michael Brown, whether it's what's going to happen here, whether it's what happened with the dude who got choked in New York, right? I don't understand how it keeps happening. Yeah. And this answers a question for me.
I mean, the big thing there, I mean, this guy getting shot, why did he get shot? Like, what is the excuse, the reasoning for why he got shot? Like, what could the cops possibly say? It's like, oh, he was reaching for a gun and we were protecting the people around him. Is that why he got shot?
Or protecting themselves. But like, even then it's like, but my question then is like, why 4 or 5 shots? Like, how?
They're trained to do that.
To shoot over and over again.
When you pull out a gun, it's to end the situation.
Yeah,
and it's not, I'm going to shoot him in the leg. I'm going to shoot at the biggest part of their body.
Can people hear you? You're saying good things. I just, if it's, you're gonna be a part of the show,
I mean, like, I had a friend whose father was a cop and recently passed away.
Right.
And like, I asked the same question once, and he was like, "That's what we're trained to do. When we pull out a gun, like, shooting is hard. Aiming at someone is difficult. You aim at the largest part of their body, center mass, and you empty your clip. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what they're trained to do. And it's, you know.
I mean, yeah, again, it's unfortunate. And you know, Colin, your point is very, very valid, right? Like, jumping to conclusions is dangerous. And your other point of, there is an undercurrent of racism in this country still. And that's how, you keep seeing this over and over again, because that is the mentality that people, that I believe white police officers have when dealing with black people, is that you go in assuming that these people, that something bad is going to happen, right? And again, I fully realize that is an impossible situation that anyone's being put in on either side, right? I mean, you're talking about human beings policing other human beings, which is really, really difficult. I don't know that it's possible to get it right 100% of the time. But I do know that we, by talking about it, by researching and knowing the facts and understanding how all these situations play out, we can get a little bit closer to understanding how to solve the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it reminds me, it's so interesting, because not that it has anything to do with race, but it has to do with topics of justice and topics of mob mentality versus doing what's right. I was rewatching with Aaron recently, John Adams with Paul Giamatti, which is based on a David McCullough book. Fantastic series on HBO miniseries. Fantastic book. David McCullough is a fucking hero amongst historians. The guy's really a fantastic writer. And he talks in the first episode about the first episode is about the Boston Massacre, and which happened in 1770. And for people that don't know what happened, basically British troops stationed in front of a storehouse or something in Boston opened fire on a group of protesters, a group of colonial protesters. This is 5 years before Lexington and Concord. Like, things hadn't really gotten violent yet. Mm-hmm. And they kill 5 people, including a child. And the British soldiers there are automatically deemed guilty by a very hostile Boston community. These people are already, the Sons of Liberty have already been founded. A lot of these people are already separatists, and they don't want, there's a lot of fear that these people can't get a fair trial. And John Adams steps in and says, I'll represent the soldiers. No one will represent them. No one will represent them. No lawyer will represent the soldiers, because they all don't believe their accounts and they all don't want them to get off anyway. And John Adams is like, what's important here is not our narrative, but what the fuck actually happened, because it strengthens our case later, that we believe in the rule of the law, that we believe in checks and balances, that we don't just go after these people and fucking string them up and hang them when we don't have all the information. And what ended up happening in the Boston Massacre, those soldiers didn't do anything. It's not quite as cut and dry as that, but like it so happens that those soldiers were egged on, that they were attacked with clubs and attacked with snowballs with rocks in them, and someone might have in the crowd might have shouted fire, and there was confusion and all those kinds of things. But that only came out when someone did the right thing. Mm-hmm. And so people made assumptions or wanted a certain verdict, but it wasn't so. And so even though that has nothing to do with necessarily Black America, nothing to do with contemporary politics, it's a good example of why that later on, years later, strengthened their cause, you know, and helped them, because they said, like, we did the right thing by these guys, even though we fucking hated them. We hated those fucking redcoats. We hated them. And we still represented them and gave them their day in court.
Well, that comes down to the idea of the rules and stuff. And I think with this, like, well, what can we do or what needs to happen? I think rules need to be made. It sounds ridiculous to me that the police get to decide how much force is allowed for each individual situation. So given this situation, right, that they're allowed to decide that. I think that they need to be able to be tried after, and someone needs to decide whether or not it was excessive. So going forward, there can be rules of what is and what is not. The idea that they had cameras on them and the cameras cannot work.
Got knocked off or whatever.
That's not acceptable. Like if you're gonna do excessive force, like there needs to be some rule of if your camera's not on and you shoot people, you're fucked. Like make sure that thing's not falling off. You know, and I get that there's situations, and I get that you're wrestling, whatever. Make sure the cameras are better.
It seems
than.
convenient that they both got ripped off.
But it's also a case of, like, is this the first time that these body cams were used in this particular, or this type of body cam was used in this jurisdiction? Mm-hmm. And they learned something that they didn't know about.
Exactly.
Like, you know,
no, and fair enough. But I just think that that stuff needs to be looked at, because to me, hearing this, it's unacceptable that the body cams that are supposed to be able to tell us everything can only tell us things halfway. And again, there's so many things that could have happened that is completely in the cops' favor, that it did fall off because they were wrestling, and we see them wrestling. We see that should happen.
Exactly.
But we need to figure out next time so that doesn't happen.
I would still like to see that footage though, right? Because I would still, like, how far off could it have fallen? Like you're assuming it's something that's somehow tethered to the body. So if it fall out,
they have it. And also, is there more audio? Is there more?
I guarantee
there's a lot,
those are key pieces that we haven't seen yet. I guarantee they'll be.
And that's what I'm saying, dude. We need
somewhat illuminating.
And I'm sure the Baton Rouge Police Department and the federal government now, I'm sure, is involved completely. Is there? And what they have to do is, what happened before they arrived? Who was the fucking 911 caller? Like, because, by the way, there is a minor culpability with the 911 caller if that guy didn't draw a gun on someone, because those guys went in heated and ready for a fucking fight. And if that never happened, then that guy is responsible for the outcome of that. So that's or that girl is responsible for the outcome of that. So if that really did happen, if that guy really did draw a gun on someone, that's fucking serious, you know? Yeah. And that changes the whole, like, so that particular call is important. Also, like, the different cameras and the different angles, the dash cam, the witnesses, the store owner, we need all of that information. My gut instinct tells me that these guys are going away, you know? Or at least one of them, whoever the shooter is, but who the hell knows,
based
man?
on this
Who
evidence,
knows?
I'm looking at this thinking the opposite, right? I'm looking at this thinking they found a gun. Probable that was probable cause. That's them defending themselves. They're gonna get off. I'm not saying that they should. I'm saying, looking based on how people have gotten off before, I guarantee.
And here's the thing. I'm 60-40, you're 40-60, right?
Yeah, right.
Not good enough.
Right.
You know, it's just not good enough.
I know.
We need 99.9% likelihood. We need 99% likelihood. We need a beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the only thing that matters. And so and I'm sure they're the boots on the ground doing hard work that's necessary. Let them do their work and let them figure this out in an honest way. And that's what they did in Ferguson. And that's what they're going to do here. And that's what they did with Eric Garner. And that's what they did with the BART shooting and all those kinds of things. And the outcomes, this is the thing I'm saying is that the outcomes are all different because they're all fucking different situations.
Yeah, 100%.
The only through line is what is probably perceived as accurate, which is racism, right? Mm-hmm. Would that man have been approached differently if he was white? Even if he was Latino, you know, than if he was a black man in Baton Rouge. Is this a black community? I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I know Baton Rouge overall isn't a black community. So is this part of Baton Rouge a black community? If so, why are there white cops? Is there some sort of hostility or some sort of tension between them? Well, there's a bunch of this takes so much time, you know, to figure this out. And I'd rather just do it right. You know? So that's where I stand.
Three things I want to toss in real quick. Two are just in this part of CNN's article. For the policing the police thing, I Googled the Seattle, what they changed their excessive force to, right? And what I found was actually an article reporting on the fact that a number of Seattle police officers were suing to change it back, saying that this was micromanagement and they can't be in their jobs in the heat of the moment. You can't run through a checklist of 50 things to figure out if you can pull your firearm, otherwise you're dead. I wanted to put that out there. I hit up the reporter from, I think it was the Seattle Times, that wrote about it. He hasn't responded back to me yet because you know how hard it is to pin down an ever-changing story if that ever happened. What I like from this, again, It's the owner of the store, right? Triple S Food Mart. But Sterling was known as the CD man, a laid back guy who would sell tunes and DVDs outside convenience store where he was shot, according to local media. Goes on about how he was a respected man, loved in the community, so on and so forth. And then Abdullah, what do you want to say there? Muflahi. The owner of the Triple S Food Mart said he saw the officer slam Sterling out of the car. Quote, they told him not to move, he said. He was asking what he did wrong. He said the officers then used a stun gun on Sterling at least once before the shooting. They got on top of him, ordered him not to move. The closest one gun, we cover all that stuff. But here, this is, I find interesting. Muflahi had said that he'd known Sterling for 6 years and never saw a confrontation between Sterling and anyone. Sterling never got into fights, he said. And the store owner said he wasn't aware of any incident Tuesday that would have spurred the 911 call. Quote, just 5 minutes before he walked into the store getting something to drink, joking around, and we were calling each other's names. They were just having a good time. Back to this, Sterling has had encounters with law enforcement before. In 2009, he was charged with carrying a weapon, a firearm, while in possession of a controlled substance, marijuana. He pleaded guilty 2 years later and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Great drug laws and gun stuff we have going on, with credit for time served and recommendation of work release and drug treatment. Sterling had pleaded guilty to other charges in the past. There was no evidence that officers who responded to the convenience store early Tuesday were aware of his criminal history.
Yeah, there's so much more to this story, man. Like I that's what I'm saying. Like this isn't all the information. That 911 call is the fucking canary in the coal mine, though. Like about like one way or the other. You know, one way or the other. Something happened, or it didn't. But this is the thing. It's like this is why this topic would have been better like next week or in 2 weeks in a way.
Well,
I appreciate that we're talking about it now.
We should follow up on. I mean, honestly, think that's
the whole
my
point.
We should earmark this, follow up with it, and have another discussion based on what we've happened. Like the thing is, it's not you can't just let these things drop, right? And that's what we always did. When we talked about gun control, was it 2 weeks ago? I said that we were all going to forget about that because something else is going to happen. This is the thing that happened.
Here we are. Yeah.
This is what happened, right? So like those, I mean, again, as far as pressing issues, I don't know which one's more important, but I mean, they both warrant more talking.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, honestly, I think that they're one and the same in a lot of ways. And like you saying the thing about the Seattle police officers being upset about the having to look through all the rules or whatever. No disrespect to any police officers, because I'm sure there's a ton out there that listen to this. But my thoughts on it are these random people that are getting shot don't have any list to go through. You were being a cop. You have rules to follow. Mm-hmm. You were the ones being given guns to police the situation. If you die, that is the risk associated with being somebody protecting people from scary people, right? Like, of course, I don't want you to die, but do you guys get what I'm saying there?
No, I understand what you're saying.
No, I think you're
Criminals
right.
have no rules. Cops have to have
exactly.
rules.
There has to be. And like you cannot take somebody's life because you feel threatened if you're not going to allow yourself to make sure that you are following the right rules to be able to take their life.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely have to be rules. There has to be consequences, and this is the main. And this is why I like what you were talking about with the policing the police, which is that there has to be like some sort of independent tribunal that has nothing to do with the cops because they do notoriously protect themselves.
They have to.
There's
you can't like, and that's the problem is you can't come out and say like you don't like to the radio announcers point. The counterpoint to that is the risk is that you're risking destroying all the trust of the people that are next to you trying to save your life if you go out there and say that guy was wrong, right?
Right.
And I know that's a shitty argument and it's a terrible argument, but I understand why that would be made.
Sure.
Right? If you are going out there day and night and putting your life on your line, and you've got to depend on these other people, you want to know that they have your back no matter what. And it's shitty because it allows all these situations to foster and come to fruition. But I sort of understand that argument.
And the radio announcer also, I mean, it's bullshit for him to get so angry and do that whole thing because it's like him saying, "I'd call out another radio announcer." No, you wouldn't. That's not how this works. And just being
he
angry
would, but he
about
probably would because it would get him better ratings, and that's a whole other terrible argument. You're right.
Yeah, that too.
But you know, and that's the problem, right? Is that I mean, not that I distrust the Internal Affairs Department. I don't know. I'm not educated enough to understand the inner workings of that. I know they do their jobs. It's just I know that there's a lot of when it comes to this, there's a lot of pressure to find people not guilty. I would imagine there's a lot riding on a guilty or non-guilty verdict when it comes to a police involved shooting. Those factors never factor in when it's just a civilian shooting another civilian. It just doesn't happen, right? If I shot you, I would probably get a fair trial. Mostly because I'm white, but there's also not the pressures of saying like when you're trying a cop, you're trying the entire institution of police, right?
And there's something to be said.
A lot of weight that comes along.
It's something to be said, I think, too, that the only time it feels like we hear about internal affairs is when they fuck it up, or there's their corruption scandal, or there's this thing. I mean, like every day at what, thousands, millions of police stations patrolling the millions of bridges in America. Everything goes right, and you don't hear the stories about we got this guy that was innocent. All this stuff that's just normal.
Right.
It's when there is a fuck up that we hear about everything. When there is bad news, we hear about everything.
And that's the thing with the check marks, right? Like the check boxes. It's like, okay, like there's just predictable patterns in the United States right now, and understandably so. Cop, check. Southern state, check. Black man being shot, check.
Yeah.
In area, maybe impoverished area, or there's some story there. Check. When you check all those boxes, then you're like, okay, there's going to be a maelstrom here because this is a bad situation. But I just feel like justice. There's no room actually for feelings in justice. There really isn't. Like, that's not how it works. So we just need, like, again, it goes back to the argument maybe before 60-40 or 40-60. I mean, that's where we are right now. That's not nearly enough information. We need more information. Kevin, where do you stand on this?
Get on the microphone, big guy.
My biggest concern is whenever these things have happened, we see people fighting back, and it's like, I don't understand why people fight back. Like, I get...
You mean the struggle.
The struggle.
Right.
I thought you meant the protest.
I apologize. Yeah.
Yes. No. Sorry. I mean the person getting arrested. There are cases where we like with that woman that clearly got beaten, and doesn't make sense. But like there's when a police officer, when someone with a gun tells you to not move, don't fucking move. Like even if it's that doesn't end well.
No. It's a dangerous situation to be in.
Yeah,
sure.
and it sucks, and it's. Like, this guy looks like he had a gun on him. Sure, they went too far. But at the same time, you have to remember those police officers, regardless of whatever, like, they're coming at you, they have a gun and they're legally allowed to use that if they feel like they're in danger. And that's the system that we all agreed to, to follow those rules.
Right,
yeah.
And I feel like that's where my knee-jerk response to you, why I wish I could find the article that I'm looking for that I saw today or whatever, would just be and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I guess it comes from my privileged situation I've had with police over and over and over again, where I'm a minor in possession of alcohol, I'm throwing a party, sir, yes sir, no sir, you know what I mean? And I'm off the hook.
The way you acted in college, if you'd have been black, you would have gotten shot.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, there would have been a lot. There would have been a lot of problems, I'm sure, and that's the thing, I guess. And I feel like, and I don't know because I can't speak, but I would assume. I mean, it was weird to be watching this after 2 days of marathoning the O.J. Simpson Made in America documentary on ESPN.
Watch that.
It's so good. And I think it's episode 1 is all about, it's really all like O.J.'s fucking playing college football and everything else is fucked all around him and police brutality and this. And of course, then we get into Rodney King and all this stuff. And hearing those people talk about how the situation escalates, right, is the fact that it's just been decade after decade after decade after decade, and how many people have been fucked with and fucked with and fucked with, that you get to the point where, I mean, we don't know with Alton, right? But where it is like, I'm selling CDs out here. I do this all the time. Why am I in trouble? What's happening? Give me an answer. And they're like, get down. I mean, I don't know. And I know. My reaction would be like, fuck, I'm on the ground. Don't worry about it.
I think it is privileged for us to say that because we are white and whatever. And if a cop tells me to do that stuff, I'm going to do that stuff and whatever. Things are going to go that way. I guess my stance, and I'm agree with Kevin on this, is it's just like, all right, well, if you resist, you're not going to beat the cop.
Yeah. You're not going to talk him out of it.
You're not going to. And that's the only thing. So it's like, it's not so much saying that like, listen to what he was right. It's just, all right, this guy has a weapon and he doesn't necessarily not want to use it on you. Why not limit the probability of you getting shot?
And that was, that was unconfirmed.
Well, to your O.J. Simpson point, which is interesting, and we talked about this yesterday, and everyone knows, why did O.J. Simpson get off, you think?
Reaction to Rodney King.
Right.
And that's what some of the jurors say in the documentary.
And so O.J. Simpson was clearly guilty. Right? And injustice led to another injustice. That's why at some point...
led to a later injustice when he got convicted of kidnapping in like 32 years in jail.
Right, but it's like, so you know what I mean? It's like injustice led to injustice. Sure. What happened to Rodney King was inexcusable. That led to an entire situation in LA, the likes of which modern America has never seen before. People have to remember,
that was
and you know because you were close to it.
I remember
in
that,
modern, and like, it was completely fucking lawless.
It was chaos.
In a part of the United States for days. That's like unheard of.
In LA.
Yeah, totally unheard of. So like, that led. So Rodney King already led to this massive injustice where people were getting fucking killed and robbed and all this kind of stuff. And you can read all about that. It's very interesting. But then that led to O.J. Simpson getting up because that was a direct reaction to that, and that was another injustice. In other words, someone's got to stand up and just do the right thing regardless, right? Those cops should have went away. If that happened, the whole Mark Furman bullshit later on and all this kind of stuff we dealt with O.J. Simpson would have never happened.
Right.
So, Mark Furman, of course, a full blown fucking racist. But
I haven't seen the documentary, but that's what they try to paint him as, right?
Yeah.
In the jury.
And so like there's all these tendrils that are there. So it's actually kind of an interesting thing that's on now because it just shows us the racial injustice is so
how far
old as
we
America,
haven't come.
and exactly how far we haven't come, and that we can't let the shit paint us forever because then nothing gets done and the right thing doesn't get done. And since the right thing wasn't done once, it wasn't done again. In that situation, that happens over and over and over again. So we have to just take things on a case by case basis, which I think is really essential. But also not ignore the underlying societal and economic problems that are in the United States with race and with poverty and all of those kinds of things, and how this leads to incarceration of black men, how this leads to fatherless children because their dads are going away for fucking nonsense, 3 strike laws and fucking marijuana possession and all this nonsense. It does not matter. It does not matter. It's not your business if someone's smoking weed. Who cares? There are bigger fish to fry, So there's so many issues that get to the heart of this that I think we can learn from. It's just that we refuse to learn from history. We refuse to learn from history. I made a joke on Podcast Beyond. We did Podcast Beyond 450. It was a joke, but it actually is quite prescient to what we're talking about right now, which is, and I don't mean to make light of this or whatever, because that's not it at all. At the end of the podcast, I said something about, we used to say how we had hypothetical abortions on Podcast Beyond. It was like an old joke or whatever. And I said I needed to have a hypothetical abortion of my food baby at the end of it. And everyone laughed or whatever, and people were like, oh, someone's gonna be offended by that. And I'm like, do you remember when the dentist shot the tiger or whatever in Africa and everyone was mad at him? No one can even tell you what that fucking story is about anymore. Because and first of all, like, it probably wasn't worth that much outrage, I gotta be honest with you.
2 weeks later, there's something else.
Exactly. At some point, we got to put our boots down. We got to put our boots down. We got to fucking dig in and not let the mob mentality or the lack of justice, but rather what actually happened play out. And then we get to the bottom of it. And if we do that on a case by case basis, everything's fine. But we refuse to do that. And it's the social media, the internet age.
And this is what I've been saying. I said in the first. I think what it was interesting because I went through the comments to try to narrow down to when I was talking about all this stuff. And because there was even I don't have even the one where I'm like, this happens all the time. We forget about it. And I was like, it's like every 9 months. And what somebody pointed out in the Stop Being Racist episode is that it was July 29th, 2015. And the last time we had a topic like that was August 25th, 2014. And here we are at the beginning of July 2016 having the same topic. It's just this never fucking ending cycle of the same thing. And
yeah, but the hope, right? And granted, it's probably not this way in practice, but the hope from my perspective is the bigger this becomes on social media, the more people want to talk about it, the more likely there is going to be a fair trial that happens, right? The more under a microscope this trial is going to be, and the more you would hope people take more responsibility and pay closer attention to it. I would hope. I think we
That's
are,
the hope.
but I just don't know.
I mean, the jumping forward here to where we are right now with Alton is the fact that there are now at least 2 video cameras on this while it happens, dash cam as well, all these other things. Maybe we are learning, maybe things are changing. Kev, what do you got to chime in with?
So there were 2 trials recently.
What happened to the case the guy threw the gun down and clearly planted a
that
gun?
I haven't heard anything
I
from.
don't know if that's gone to trial or not yet, but we should look that up.
But there was the other trial with the guy in the van.
Yeah, did you
remember the van
up
one.
the conclusion?
I mean, like, I watch the news every single day.
Yeah.
So I remember they all got off. Well,
Albert Einstein over there running the board. I didn't know.
We should look this up. No, the van one was
Albert Einstein loved MSNBC.
But, are you saying those aren't fair trials though?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's a matter of fair trial as much as people assume it's a matter of there's some level of corruption when it comes to police who are accusing other police, right? Or where you're not really going to get a great in the case of the van, you're not going to get a great eyewitness because the rest of the guys were cops and clearly in on it, right? And so when a guy's locked in the back of a van and 2 cops are driving it, who's to say what happened? That I think is this is a perception of how there's an unfairness element that's in play here. I'm going to look that up real quick because I really do want to know how that ended. But the accusation was that they put him in the van without a seatbelt and bounced him around until he got basically brain damage.
Okay.
Very recently, the driver of it, who had the highest, the most things against him, I don't know.
Right.
Like worst crimes were
Most
on
charges.
him.
Most charges, yeah.
Thank you. He was acquitted. So like,
Was he?
Yeah, and there were
That's a tough one to
two
swallow
other
on that
ones.
one.
I mean, but the evidence was on his side of it.
Or there wasn't enough evidence. And that's the problem.
No, there was. Like people, people
let
did
me look at the
research.
conclusion before I misspeak. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't want to argue with you. If
No,
you're
no,
right, you're
I
right.
know, but and same thing with the Ferguson, the Michael Brown. Like that kid had just robbed a convenience store.
Yeah.
Earlier, like
And what was
less than
sad
an
about
hour,
that,
and that's why there was someone out looking for him.
right? And what's so sad about that thing with Michael Brown and why when those facts started to come out is even though, and that's the thing when you have a preconceived notion of what's supposed to happen, or you want something to happen, you just want justice, whatever that means. When it came out not too long after that, he robbed that fucking convenience store. No one cared, or like a lot of people were just like, it doesn't matter. He was still shot and killed, and I'm like, but. It does matter. You know, like it doesn't necessarily mean he should have been killed, but it paints the picture of the cop's head about what he's looking for and what he's dealing with. Is the man armed? Is he hostile? And all these kinds of things. That does matter. And that's why with Ferguson, I jumped to a conclusion, and I think I was right in many ways, but not in terms of what that cop did. Certainly not. And so I don't want to jump to any more conclusions with this shit. I don't. I just don't. I got burned. Right? Like, doesn't mean what I said was wrong. It doesn't mean what I said was wrong about the nature of Black America, about how they're held down, about how they're discriminated against, all those kinds of things. Of course, that's true. But we did jump to a conclusion.
It's Freddie Gray, he died.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
His like neck was broken,
Yeah, hold on.
From being bounced around in the back of the van.
You're right.
or from bashing his head.
Or from
Sure.
bashing his own
Sure.
head.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I just
No, this is why we're looking it up.
Yeah.
I don't want to misspeak.
So
You
then-
guys can. Sorry, I apologize. Go ahead.
Tim,
Mm.
how do you want to handle this? That was a long first topic.
How
You want
long
to
was
break an hour, a little over an hour.
All right, yeah, we probably should break it into two.
Okay, cool. So then, how the sausage gets made, ladies and gentlemen. Can I, for topic 4, do the ad at the front?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Because I know they
Yeah.
can't be at the end. I just want to make
Well,
sure.
it could be the end of. It could be at the end of the next topic that we're about to do. Topic
Well, no,
3.
because then it would be because you gave me 2 ads.
You're right.
Yeah, so I have to start both.
Okay, cool.
the
So they'll
next
have to be
topics.
back to back.
No, I'm
Okay,
gonna start
you're starting
both
3,
topics.
starting 4.
I just want
Go
to.
for it.
We're not monetized. We're not putting ads on.
Nope, absolutely
first-
not.
Okay, well, why not? This is fun. People like seeing this kind of
No,
stuff.
keep it in. Keep it
Keep it
Kev.
in. Come on, Kev. Have some fun. Did you find your information yet, Nick?
Yeah, they were all acquitted.
They were all acquitted.
Oh, yeah.
But why?
I'm looking through it. There was 5 of them.
that was 6.
So, I mean, you
Watching
are,
the-
you
not
are, you
watching
are
the-
correct. I'm sorry. 3 of the 6 officers are charged
What?
with
No.
involuntary manslaughter.
I
And one of
watched-
those.
I was gonna say not watching the news carefully enough, but you were watching
I
carefully enough.
literally
Albert
watch
Einstein.
2 to 3 hours of news every morning.
Give me a pound out there. What? I don't know. How much you sleep?
He doesn't.
Very little.
God.
Well, so Paula wakes up at 6:30.
Yeah.
So I'm awake.
Give me a high five also on the on just this topic because I thought it was a really good topic.
Oh, thank you. God. Oh.
You really fell for that?
Really? Well, did you think it was a good topic, or were you?
No, it wasn't good. It wasn't good topic.
You son of a bitch.
Oh man!
I really thought I was gonna high five. No, I did not expect that. God
wow.
damn it.
That was good, Colin.
Thank you.
How we doing, Nick?
Need a little levity right now.
I'm just looking. Sorry. Looking,
No, you're fine. You're fine, big guy.
Who do you want to cut? I don't mind being cut if you guys want to.
Okay, cool. But I want to. I want to conclude what we got here.
Give me 1 second.
All right.
September was decided back.
Let me go last.
You want to go last?
Yeah.
Okay.
Feels right.
Aftermath.
I mean, whatever you want, but
All right, we're dragging here.
I don't know.
Nick's trying to figure out this final thing here.
They were suspended without pay on April 1st. Police commissioner. Shit.
He just doesn't believe Kevin.
No, I just want to see. I want to make sure they all got off. I don't want to say they all got off, but we can.
Well,
we can look
I
that up
believe
later.
3 of them have gotten off so far.
Are they still being tried? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, there's
Okay.
2 more. There are 3 more, I guess, that are still
There's
being
6
tried.
total, yeah.
But like they did 2 trials first, both got acquitted, and then the latest one was the most serious one that they were trying to do first. Got acquitted, so
Okay.
it
so
looks like they're all
going
gonna
to
get off.
It's unfortunate.
I mean, it's only unfortunate if
If something
they
if,
did
if
something
there was,
wrong,
yeah,
and the
sure.
evidence.
is saying they didn't do
Yeah.
anything wrong.
Right.
Nick,
I believe you. Yes.
you're the next topic. But first, I need to tell you that this episode is brought to you by Loot Crate. Loot Crate is a monthly subscription box service for epic geek and gamer items and pop culture gear. For less than $20 a month, you get 4 to 8 items. We'll wait for Colin to come back. The ad doesn't count if you're not here.
Really?
No, I'm kidding around. You get 4 to 8 items that include licensed gear, apparel, collectible, unique one-of-a-kind items, and more. Make sure you head to lootcrate.com/kindafunny and enter the code kindafunny to save $3 on any new subscription. Loot Crate is more than just a subscription service. It's an entire community of fans that share their experience and interact with each other around the unboxing of each month's crate. And they guarantee more than $40 in value in every crate. Sometimes it's a lot more. Every month there's a different theme, and all the items are curated around that theme. Previous crates have included items from franchises like Star Wars, Marvel, The Walking Dead, The Legend of Zelda, and many more. Join us as we celebrate the futuristic. We've packed July's crate with items from some of pop culture's favorite prognostications of science and the future. Nailed that time. Yeah. Look towards tomorrow with items from Rick and Morty, Futurama, Star Trek, Mega Man, Valiant Comics, and Star Trek, including they already said Star Trek.
Say it again. Star Trek's worth it. Say it twice.
There's two double the Star Trek, including a model, a figure, and don't forget our monthly teen pin. Remember, you only have until the 19th at 9 p.m. Pacific to subscribe and receive that month's crate. And when the cutoff happens, Jack, that's it. It's over. So go to lootcrate.com/kindafunny and enter the offer code kindafunny to save $3 on your new subscription today.
It's a good read there.
Thank you, bud.
Nailed it.
Thank you.
Crushed it.
What's your topic?
My topic, I want to talk about the weirdest hotel rooms you've stayed at, or the weirdest hotel experiences in general. And this came up because Chris Ostertag, Video Grandpa on Twitter, tweeted me a picture of a hotel that we stayed at one time that I totally had blocked from my memory because it was arguably the worst experience of my life. It was in Amsterdam. We went out there for a gig that we were both doing as a freelancer for my friend Brennan. They flew us out and put us up. It was a cool gig, but all of the hotels in Amsterdam, because Amsterdam's such an old city, were either like new or had been converted something or other, right? So the hotel we stayed at was it was like a juvenile youth insane asylum.
Awesome.
Something that like where you went, it was basically a place where they held like youths that were problemed or had mental handicaps or had some sort of thing going on where they needed to be basically institutionalized. That went south, and apparently they decided to make that into a hotel.
Gotta love Amsterdam.
The rooms were the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life, and I'll show you right now. We should show the audience as well as soon as Kevin gets back, but I'll pull it up on Twitter for you guys right now. They were all different, but this was the one that
15.
Chris actually stayed in this room. And I'll describe this to you before I show you a picture. You open the door, and it opens up into, it's one long room, just one room.
You got
That's
it? Okay.
You open the door.
Yeah.
And it immediately opens up into the bathroom. And by bathroom, I mean,
you open the front door and you're in the bathroom?
You walk into tile.
Like a shower tile?
You walk into shower tile.
Okay.
There is a sink and a spigot in the ceiling.
A spigot in the ceiling?
Yeah. And then you keep walking about another 5-10 feet and you're at the bed. So when you shower, you just turn the thing on and hope to God the water doesn't go everywhere because that's Europe, apparently. Let me pull this up real quick so you guys can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, can you give me real water? I'm thirsty. Also, we put notes in your book, Kevin, about you have to insert a photo. We did it perfect, don't worry.
That's the view from the front door.
Wait, this is the view from the front door?
Right, so this...
What's the door off to the right?
I saw this on Twitter yesterday. It's funny, man.
What's that door there? The shitter?
Oh, that might be the shitter, actually, yeah. But that sink and you see that's the actual shower. You're walking basically into a shower.
I don't like that at all.
That TV's awesome. Zoom in on that TV.
That nice CRT there.
God damn, it's
Looks like a solid
CRT.
Solid 21 inches right there.
So this was my so then you go up to my room and it's like a totally different layout, slightly better. But it was like incredibly hot. There was no air conditioning and people were partying in this place all night. It was arguably the worst hotel I've ever stayed at in my entire life. It was weird, and that was in the basement, by the way. So like those windows like look up into like foot traffic and people that are basically partying, because in Europe, especially in Amsterdam,
you don't stop partying.
They just have like the outdoor beer gardens and things like that. You can sit out there. It's really pretty. It's actually really pretty looking over the river. But yeah, that was a strange one for me. That was when he reminded me of that time when I tried to block from my memory, because other than that, the job and Amsterdam were amazing. Highly recommend visiting them. Just don't stay in the insane asylum that I had to stay at, where no doubt countless people have died.
No.
Countless people have died.
I can't see you handling that well at all.
I did not handle it
well.
well.
Not even A little
Not
bit.
even a little.
Because you in hotels, I mean, good lord.
You're very particular.
If we think that you in food is particular, you in hotels is a whole other thing. God bless you for it.
I'm very particular.
At
totally
RTX,
get
you
it.
just changed your hotel. You were too close to the elevator.
I did, and it bit me. It bit
Too
me in
close
ass.
to the elevator.
And then that one was haunted too, right above you. Somebody was moving things all night long.
Did you hear what I was talking about?
No,
my God.
I was the room next to you.
Yeah, you were.
I didn't hear a goddamn thing.
All carpeted hotel, and it sounded all night long like someone was moving a chair across hardwood. Just that sound of like.
Yeah.
So I fucked myself because I got to the room on the top floor, by the way, and I'm like, this is a top floor room. You should shut up and just take this room because no one's above you. So at least that eliminates one of the areas of sound that could potentially happen to you. But I was too close to the elevator. Now, the problem with being too close to the elevator, Colin will feel me on this. I'm a light sleeper. If anyone's outside my room talking, which inevitably happens at least once at these conferences because there's 500 people staying in every room, I'm going to hear that. So to eliminate that possibility, I stay away from the elevator because what's the first thing you do when you and your friends arrive at the elevator? You start talking to each other. You make small talk. Why is this elevator taking so long? This elevator is taking forever. How hilarious is this? How bad this elevator is being to us right now, right? I'm going to hear that. I'm going to stay up all night. And the other note is just in general, I know to expect this during conferences because when you're staying 30 feet from the exhibition center, it's going to be 10 to a room no matter what. Like all night long, the first night, I heard air mattresses being blown up and people playing something. I don't know. It's like Guitar Hero or something like that.
Overwatch is what's cool these days.
They were
Yeah,
playing
Overwatch, there you
Overwatch,
go.
I bet.
And yelling and screaming and having a good time as one does when they go to a convention called Rooster Teeth Expo, right?
Naturally.
So that's my bad is next year I'll probably try to stay a little bit farther away from it. Like the year prior to that, we stayed at the W. Nice, same hotel, same accommodations, good, but it was just a little farther off so people weren't doubling up 10 to a room over there. Maybe a little bit more expensive.
Well, even
too.
this year, you got to chime in on this one, Kev?
Yeah, I was jokingly telling you that you should switch with Tim when you were switching rooms.
Mhm.
But our room was really cool because do you remember it had that little like extra doorway?
So there's a doorway that would lead to our two rooms. So pretty much like, and that had an extra key that only our two keys could get into. So we could have kind of made both of our rooms into a party room.
Oh, cool.
Different than the
Ooh.
adjoining rooms.
Were you in the corner?
Although that also joined. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
totally
they told
in
me
the
to stay
corner.
away from the corner because that's where they really crowd into, apparently. The woman
Well,
at the front
it was
desk was like,
crowding in.
well, that was the
It was
woman-
just us.
She at the front desk. She was like, "Dude, you don't want to stay near a corner then because during these times they
I
crowd
can
into
imagine
the room."
because there's an extra room.
Yeah, but to which I replied, I'm like,
What's in
you
the other
know
room?
this.
So the extra room is just space. It's just hallway, but it's like an extended hallway, but it's like
Hotbox it.
My thing
yeah,
that was
I mean,
annoying
honestly, like if you're trying to get fucked, you could gather your little group of RTX goers and do some E or something.
Whoa,
Yeah.
a raven there.
about it's called
But it was
Molly
so
now.
small. It was like the space between you guys' room.
But
like
these
that little
kids,
doorway.
Kevin, they
Yeah,
know
I mean,
how to-
I hear about community members like when they come to like KFL and stuff like that. They do, anytime you see these guys, any of our best friends out there at these conventions, they do that. I understand. They get. Well, I think the last one was.
I think he means they pack into a room. I don't think he means they all do eat.
Maybe they do it too. I don't know. If you're out there doing it, just make sure to hydrate.
Zyger's
Don't
just
do it.
like that, Nick. That's not drugs. That's just Zyger.
I totally understand why people do it. I totally understand that it's cost effective. I don't understand why the hotel allows this to happen, especially since it sounds like they just know what's happening and they just choose not to police it.
Well, what are you gonna do? I mean, that's the type
Kick
of
them out of the
thing-
hotel because it's usually only like 4 max, like max occupancy.
Yeah,
It's a fire hazard, Tim.
I mean,
don't
I
have
was
that on
going up
facts.
and down the halls like to get to the elevator and stuff, and almost every single time there was some security guard or like administrative hotel person with walkie-talkies being like, "Oh, I'm at 10:52," and like, no, it's 10:42. It's like walking back and forth. Like there are people policing this.
Well, I
shit.
mean, because there's
of
asshole old
people
guys like me.
you,
I
yeah.
thought about calling and I was like, no, you just got to deal with it because
You
It
suck
is
it
what
up.
it is.
you suck it up. You're
Yeah,
here.
no, it's-
This is what you're doing.
I get it, man. I mean, hotels can be loud, but that never bothers me because like
Well, you guys are
just-
deep sleepers.
shit just happens.
See?
I'm not a deep sleeper. I just that shit just doesn't bother me that much. So
I'm-
I just kind of deal with it. It's like there's noise happening. I'm either sleeping or not. But what bothers me is when the hotels themselves give misinformation about what their room actually is. Like one time we went to PAX East for Boston. This is back when we were with IGN, and me and you get into what our room is supposed to be, and there was one twin bed. And there wasn't even enough room on the floor for me to sleep.
And we
if I
almost did
wanted
it.
to.
We
And then
laid down in the bed and we were like, nah, this won't
no,
work.
we can't do it. And it was just like, it blew my mind that qualifies as a 2-person room. Like that was a 2-person room. Granted, they expected it to be a couple, but I mean,
Right.
and me and Greg, again, not against it.
We were, if it would have been a queen, we were in. It's
But
done.
it physically just didn't work. And in that same room, you go in the bathroom and it was just like, how is someone like, you can't sit and close the door.
yeah.
So I'm like, if I'm taking a dump,
Mhm.
I cannot physically close the door.
Yeah. You don't need to.
That is just upsetting. The
Your
only way
lover
to
will
do it,
understand.
Yeah,
you have to stand,
let
walk
your beauty
like,
out.
behind the toilet, like close it, and then sit.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, fucking real America. You're out of here. You go to these like other places. There's space for days. That you could fit 10,000 people on the floor, which is why they
We don't
do
want
it.
you in real America. That's the thing. We don't want anyone else in real America. So we make our hotel rooms as
This is
uncomfortable
just
as possible.
this is just a hotel room for somebody where they're coming out here for a funeral. Somebody's getting married. They ain't staying.
No,
there.
that's
Okay.
been my thing. I've had horrible experiences in Boston and New York when it comes to hotels.
Oh, New York and
Yeah.
New York hotels and
New York hotels are just like, hey, here's a
York
closet.
I love New York
bad,
hotels.
bad.
It's
Well, it's
fun.
because they're all converted from like really old buildings, so the rooms are tiny, the plumbing's terrible, and again for me, you can just hear everything. Like there was one when we stayed in Boston the first time. The hotel was actually nice, but the walls were so thin, and I was again near the elevator that you heard the pinging of the
Every single
time I hit a floor. It was hell loud, and I was like, this isn't even physically possible because it's the same level of fucking loudness every floor. You think it would get quieter as it went down, but it doesn't. It was just ping, 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 ping.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
I'm sure you loved that.
Oh, I fucking hated it. I hated it.
Yeah, New York. I had a weird during the PS4 reveal in Manhattan. Sony put us up in in like what is the most hipsterish fucking hotel. I can't remember the name of it. It was so hipsterish. There was an acoustic guitar in my room. I was like, this is fucking outrageous. This place. Yeah, I was like, this is. And then I would talk to the people like, yeah, I had like a keyboard and I had like a fucking xylophone. I'm like, what is going on in this place? I don't like staying. When I go to New York, I just stay with my friends. It's like I can't stay in fucking New York, so I city hotels. But the worst hotel experience I ever had was in Virginia with Ramon and Kate, his girlfriend. Our friend Kevin, who we did the NHL 94 tournament with, was getting married in an Indian wedding in Virginia, which is 2 days. So we had to stay in a hotel and for one night, and then we stayed with my mom another night down there because she lives in Richmond. And the hotel we stayed at was like some fucking garbage Clarion or something like that. It was attached to a Hooters.
No, that's a bonus right there.
I was like, all right, like we just have to stay here one night. Like, let's just do it. And we we got the room or whatever, and then walked in immediately, and there was like cockroaches in the room and shit like that. And this was the time when I was positive just because I stayed in a hotel, I had bed bugs. No, I didn't. I don't think. And I was like, it's just too risky. Like this place was so sketchy that I like came in, dropped my stuff in the middle of the kitchen because it wasn't carpeted, and then immediately took soap and whatever, and went immediately to the laundromat, dropped the entire bag, like everything I had with me, everything I had on, like all of it in the washing machine. I was like, I can't risk it.
It wasn't. You had it in a garbage bag, right?
Yeah, I dropped it all in the garbage bag. Like literally took my pants off in the kitchen, like my shirt and everything, and like.
And I just sat there and washed.
And I was like, just in case,
I've seen that shirtless.
Because you don't want to fuck around with that. But the funny thing was that we went into that room, and then they moved us into another room, which was even worse. And then I went to the counter. And there was this baseball team, like this men's league baseball team with their wives and stuff, like checking in at the hotel. And I waited in line, and they're making small talk with me, and I was like, they're like, oh, so what's going on? I'm like, oh, our hotel room's terrible. Like, and she's like, oh, what's wrong? I'm like, there are cockroaches, and like I don't know what the fuck's going on in this place, you know? And they were all like concerned. And then I talked to the person at the desk, and I'm like, I need you to like, give me all my money back now. And they like didn't really give me a problem. They were like, fine. Like the woman was like, all right, fine, and like gave me all my money back. And then 2 weeks later, I got a letter from the manager of the hotel apologizing to me for it, whatever, and they're like, oh, well, you know, we're sorry. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be back real quick.
Yeah.
And
that makes up for everything. I'm coming right back.
The funny thing is that we could not find a hotel in the Richmond area, like at all, and we ended up finding a smoking room in like some Holiday Inn or something like that.
God, those are the worst.
And there's still pictures of it. I got to show you and videos on like my iPad and stuff, like just fucking with Ramon. Like there was outlets in like weird places. You know how they have like air conditioning outlets like like on top. Like I remember just like we couldn't find outlets. We were hanging we were charging our phones, and they were just hanging from the outlet and stuff like that. So it was kind of memorable, and it was also a little scary because I was like, I don't want to be in these. Like it's worth spending the extra money to just get a good hotel room.
Yeah,
but of course,
I agree.
At that time I had less money and also just bad planning, and I could have just gone and stayed with my mom. It wouldn't have been a big deal. So I was just kind of being annoying in that respect. Also, overseas hotels, interesting. Had good hotel experiences in Europe, in Japan. I've stayed in the smallest hotels that were literally half the size of this room. You know?
Yeah,
like,
Japan hotels are the weird ones.
no joke. And they're nice hotels.
Yeah.
That was the funny thing. Like these are like beautiful hotels at Shibuya. You know, like
I mean, the best hotel room I've probably ever stayed at. The best was the Park Hyatt in Shinjuku, because that's the one where they shot Lost in Translation at.
Yeah.
It was like, you don't talk about quiet, man. It was like 30 stories up. There was a thick fog layer around me at all times that was dampening the sound from the street below. Fan-fucking-tastic. I go back there in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean, the ones that I think of being bad ones were, when I was in college or fresh out of college, and I remember, like, I think I've told on this show before or whatever. We didn't need to stay in the hotel, but we went down for the Independence Bowl in Shreveport, Louisiana, and we drove. We got in the car at whatever, like, obscene amount, like 1 a.m. and drove through, back road Missouri all the way down to get there.
Right.
Got there, we're like, it was already time to tailgate for this game. We're like, we'll check into the hotel afterwards. We tailgated, got drunk as shit, watched the game. We're all hungover, get in the car, get to the Holiday Inn or wherever it was, and we're like, hey, we're here to check in. They're like, we don't have any rooms. Like, no, we made a reservation. Like, no, we overbooked the rooms. We overbooked the entire hotel. There's no room for you here. And we're like, well, we're just dumb college kids. We're like, well, what do we do? Where do we go? And like,
Anyone could take a reservation.
Yeah. I don't know if you know how reservations work.
Oh my
Seinfeld
god, that was
reference.
dude, that was again another reason why. I don't think it was this flight. This flight with the Virgin. What was the last one we did?
United.
When, where was that shoot?
Oh, fuck
it was
United.
VidCon, right? We were
Yeah.
flying out of VidCon.
Fuck United.
United
Oh,
again.
God.
I was reminded of like how absurd that is. The very first thing they say is this flight's actually oversold, so we're gonna need some volunteers.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
how do you fucking do that? How do
Because
you
they
do
don't
that?
think everybody's gonna show up.
Well, there's always one person who's like, I guess I don't really have any reason.
Exactly.
I'll
I'll take the $300
I did
voucher.
it once.
I've done it
IGN,
twice.
Yeah.
Well, it's for an IGN trip to Comic-Con. I'm like, I don't have an appointment until later, and I just got money.
Yeah, it's
Fuck
good.
yeah.
I did.
But no,
I
we
did
get-
it 3 times. I tried to do it like I shit you not twice in a row on the same flight. They booked me once. It was coming back, and they were like, "We got to bump someone." And I was like, "I got nothing to do at home. It's a Sunday. I got tomorrow off because we worked all weekend." I was like, "I'll take the later flight." And then the later flight came, and they fucking overbooked that. And I was like, "I'll take another one." And the woman's like, We've never encountered this situation before. I don't know if we're allowed to do this." Called her manager, was like, "I guess we are. Here you go."
That's awesome.
2 free flights.
No, when we were dumb college kids, we didn't know what to do, so we drove around to like 3 other hotels, and finally the last hotel was like, "You're done. There's no one. There's not going to be a hotel during a bowl game. Missouri versus Arkansas. You just got to go. You got to hit the road."
You gotta go.
And we're like, we got to leave the city. Like, yeah, you might as well start trying to drive home. So we kept driving home, and it was New Year's Eve. So like, it was like we lost the game. It was New Year's Eve, and we're all hungover, and we're piled in Walter Oakley's car driving back on highways, and it's jammed. It's
Who's
bumper.
driving at this point?
Walter is.
Is he drunk?
No, he's hungover as shit. And he's
So,
really
okay.
angry. And
That
he's
sucks.
tired. He hasn't
Yeah.
slept. It's like, well, I don't even know when. And it's bumper to bumper. We're going, and then when it finally gets going, there'd be that moment of like, I'll never forget. There's a hotel. And we looked at it, and it was burned out. Like, damn it! And we drive, and you'd get off like an hour outside of the city. Like, there's no hotel. Keep doing. Finally, we found one. It was the first time we ever ate Whataburger. Because we pulled off, and we'd celebrated New Year's in the car. And we pulled off at like 1:30, and there was this one. We checked in there, we were fine. But the best was there was a moment when there was just complete silence, and we were driving, and we were bumper to bumper. And Walter just goes, "God damn it!" There's punching the wheel out of nowhere. And we're like, and then went back. The other one was
That's
I was talking about. Have you ever heard my story about the most Missouri wedding I ever went to?
No.
You haven't heard this one?
I don't think I have.
Oh man! So a friend from college was getting married to a girl who was from like the boonies of Missouri, like one of the towns. Like when I always talk about Columbia, and I'm like, it's like Austin without international airport, right? So it's not as big, but that's the idea. Liberal college town. And then when you get out of that, it's like, oh, here's the Missouri you think about, and then this is the Missouri you're scared of. You know what I mean? And we booked a hotel room, and we booked a hotel for this wedding. We went down there. We all piled into this room again, of course, for this thing. And I'll never forget. We pulled in. It was the first time I had ever pulled into one of those like motels where it was like I pulled into a gravel lot, and then the doors just opened. Like the doors just opened out to the fresh air or whatever. And we got there, and they only had a smoking room left. And my buddy Coppice opened the door and threw it open. And he was the first, and he just goes, "Ay, caramba." And I was like, whoa, it's just like, it hits you in the
hit
face
by
like,
it,
oh,
man.
Jesus Christ, what is
Just
this?
30 years
30
of
years
cigarette
of smoke.
smokers. Oh, that's the worst.
So it smelled terrible. The story of the most Missouri wedding, it builds like this, where we go to the wedding, it's super nice or whatever. I don't remember anything about the ceremony. Then the party though, the reception was like in the VFW hall, again, a gravel parking lot. We go in there, and it's the mashup of the Antlers, us bunch of fucking idiots who just party and are goddamn morons, and then her family is like the Southern Missouri, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like God and all this other stuff and country and yada yada yada, right? Like they have morals. And so we'd sneak out into the parking lot and drink paint can, as we've talked, the Everclear concoction that somebody made. Somebody tweeted me photos of that they were making paint can. Good job.
Don't drink anything called paint can.
But as you start drinking paint can, you get loose and you have a good time. And we went back
paint can
in there.
Is moonshine? Is that like the equivalent to like a moonshine?
No, I'll make it for you one day.
Nope.
We went back for the next 24-hour live stream. I'll make a paint can. We can all have some fun with it.
Fuck that.
We went back in and everybody's on the dance floor and da-da-da-da. And then one of our Antler friends got it in his head, and I'm removing as many names as I can from this, got it in his head that he needed to moon one of our other Antler friends on the dance floor. And so, because I think he had just gotten the Antler A tattooed on his ass. And he did it. But in the paint can infused state and just drinking in general, it turned out there was like a 3-year-old flower girl, like right there, like more eye level with the brown eye. And she was horrified. And then her father was horrified. And they started screaming at each other and they were going to fight on the dance floor. And the DJ came over and he's like, if you're going to fight, go outside. And the entire reception went outside and got into a circle to watch these two fucking fight. And so they started pacing around. And literally just as it was about to pop off, and if I'm lying, I'm dying, the DJ had come out unbeknownst to us, gone to his pickup truck, picked up a piece of pipe, and came out of nowhere and slammed the pipe on the gravel so it went everywhere. He's like, get them fucking wet! And he's like threatening them with this pipe. And it diffused the situation and everybody went back to drinking in the parking lot or partying inside.
So, the moral of the story, the DJ did his job.
He did.
Wow.
He kept everything going.
That's
And
awesome.
Nobody got killed. It was,
That
a
is-
big surprise.
That is. I don't have any wedding stories like that.
No,
that was a good one.
That was yeah. And then another not bad wedding or a bad hotel story, but one where I was. I've told the story before when I almost died moving out here or whatever, stuck in the Nebraska snowstorm. Eventually went back to a hotel that was like 15 minutes behind on the highway, and when I got there, I'm exhausted, I'm emotionally drained, I'm beaten or whatever. But I'm safe at least, and I'm in a real hotel, and I ordered horrible Pizza Hut pizza from the one Pizza Hut out in the parking lot. And I was like, I gotta charge my phone. And I grabbed the dresser and pulled it out, and there were just fucking 35 condoms, not used, in the package back there. Because clearly somebody had put them out because they were gonna get fucking buck wild. And then they just fell there, and then it's just like that. They don't clean this well. No. Like, what else is happening in this room? Like, I don't think about it. Just go to bed.
Could have been spiders.
It could have been. Yeah.
I thought it was going to
yeah.
be spiders.
I can't handle.
Could have been used condoms.
Exactly. No, there's
which
a
would have
lot.
been way
A
better
lot,
than
and that's why I
spiders.
said it wasn't a real bad one. It was just like one of those things of like I'd already had my last straw for that.
I
that trip.
accept that most, because we stay usually at nice hotels. I accept that shit has gone down in that hotel room. I mean, we've all contributed to it.
I know what I've done.
So
in
it's not
hotels.
like so it's like that's just the nature of the beast.
spraying that stuff everywhere.
It's because you can. Fuck it.
I had a really actually interesting and good experience at one of those motels like you're talking about, right? Where you just kind of open out, like
Sure.
the very Southern California, like road motels. We went, it was me and Anthony Cava were doing a short for this competition that was a while back. And it was down in Central California. I think it was Kernville or one of those places. And we booked this, basically almost this entire hotel for the crew. Because there was only like maybe 12 rooms here. We took up like 6 or 8 of them, double up 2 or 3 at a room. And I was like, this is going to be terrible. But it ended up being very interesting because the hotel was very nondescript. We went, we had a great shoot, got like it was one of those classic shoots where we're like, we got one more shot, and literally the sun was going down below the mountain, and when it peaked below, like that was it, our light was gone. So we were like mobilizing, go. This is like 16 hours of shooting for this like 2-minute short that we were working on. Finally got the last shot. We're like, oh my God, that was amazing. Let's all go back. And we go back to this hotel, and it's nighttime at this point, like the sun had dipped. Granted, we remember that we forgot one shot, which was very key to the edit, but we were able to edit around it. And we get back to this hotel, and I forget the name of it, but it had this big, amazingly beautiful neon sign, like this vibrant sign that was lit up, that wasn't lit up during the day. And when we came back, it looked like a movie set. So the entire crew comes back to this thing, and we just all stood there for a second and looked at this gorgeous motel that we were staying at that we had no idea about until we returned at night. And it was really, really cool. I mean, like some of us barbecued, some of us left, and some of us ended up staying there that night. But that was a really good memory. Ever since then, I'm like, I want to do another short about that hotel. Well, we did. We were like, fuck. Like we had just done this awesome like Western style thing. It was for this Phillips competition.
It's online.
It is. You can
What's
look it up. It's called
Wolf?
Dust.
Dust.
It was for the Phillips like short film
Oh,
competition.
Wolf shot it.
Wolf shot it. Yeah.
Motherfucker's name's Wolf.
You can, if you search Dust short film, I think you can find it. It's either on Vimeo. It's probably on Anthony's page on Vimeo. And it was cool. You know, it was a really fun shoot. It was grueling and really, really warm. But yeah, we got back, and Anthony and I both looked and we're like, fuck. we should have made it about this. Like, this is really cool. It's just about this amazing motel in the middle of nowhere where travelers come in and go. It was interesting.
I like that one.
Yeah.
We should go stay there.
It was fun. Not bad. I mean, horrible accommodations, but the actual vibe of the town was nice. It was very small.
Tim?
Yes.
It's time for your topic. But first, I need to tell you, it's brought to you by Harry's. Stop compromising on your shave and get started with Harry's. For far too long, you've either paid too much for a comfortable shave or you settled for a low-priced but low quality, or, for a low price but low quality razor. Harry's offers something you've never had before. A great shave at a fair price. Harry's makes its own high quality razors, cuts out the middleman, and ships them directly to you for half price of the leading brand. Good shave, good price. It's simple. Get the best of both worlds with Harry's. Harry's is the only shaving company that has both amazing quality and low prices. Harry's makes just one razor for all you need. One razor with all you need for a close, comfortable shave. 5 German-crafted blades, flex, hinge, and lubricating strip. Quality guaranteed. Full refund if you're not happy. Tim, are you happy?
I am quite happy.
You've been using it?
Yeah, we were at RTX.
Yeah.
Had to look good for all of my RTX friends out there. There's the Rooster Teeth people. There's
Barbara.
the Let's Play family. And I was trying to skirt around it. Barbara. Had to look good for Barbara, right?
She would make fun of us if we didn't
She
look
would.
good.
She would, but she was like, you know what? She didn't say this, but I know she was thinking it. Damn, Tim, your neck's looking good.
Your neck
You
is
know
looking
wh-
good.
You know why my neck's looking good? Thanks to Harry's.
All right.
Using the shave. All
See, I
this.
got a shave. Maybe I'll try it.
Harry's starter set called the Truman is a great option for new customers and an amazing deal. For just $15, you get a razor handle, moisturizing shave cream, and 3 of Harry's 5-blade German-engineered razors. Plus, there's a special offer for fans of the show. Harry's will give you $5 off your first purchase with the promo code KINDAFUNNY. Go to harrys.com right now and look for the Truman set. That's harrys.com. Enter the code KINDAFUNNY at checkout to get $5 off and help support the show. Stop compromising. Give Harry's a try today. The link is in the description.
Harry's. Get shaved.
I think we got
Beautiful.
We got to make it a rule every time Colin leaves. He's got to look back in the camera when he comes in. It's happening.
Oh, I
down
thought
there.
you were about to.
I didn't know what was happening.
Pull out
Super
the horizon
excited.
there.
Suck you all
It
in
was
it.
exciting.
Tim, what do you
Great.
got?
So you can
My
suck
topic
it.
today is something that we've talked about for a very long time
singular
about
event
making a
horizon.
topic.
Okay. I don't remember
And
this.
we always decided we weren't going to because it's really, really stupid.
Oh, okay, great.
But recently we decided, fuck the stupid rules. We're gonna do whatever we want.
The rules we
The
made
rules
up.
are the rules that we made up.
I feel like that was like
Episode
two.
1. No,
Nope.
literally when
Nope.
he was
We
like
have
Disney
rules.
Princess fuck list.
fuck.
Are you kidding me? One of the best topics we ever had.
Should revisit
I stand
that.
by
There's
that
been a
shit.
couple more
I'm not
since.
doing broccoli.
Broccoli's
Kevin.
mine.
Broccoli is Greg's, and it will happen at some point. But recently we did ice, which was
Great topic.
it was
Well
definitely
received.
well received. And speaking of ice, I am so angry because at RTX they were sponsored by Coke. First off, I want to be sponsored by Coke.
Yes.
Second off, in their VIP room, Colin, I don't know if you saw this. They not only had their own Rooster Teeth flavored Coke, whatever that means, they also offered a ice
Oh, I
glass
saw that.
bottle of
I saw
Coke.
that. Yeah, I saw you guys tweeting about
So you're
that.
drinking out ice, and I didn't get there. I didn't get it in time. Kevin had one. Kevin, what do you think? Tell us about it.
We're getting
Oh
the
my God.
microphone. Tell me about this glass
can
Coke
I
bottle.
can I tell you about how Kevin looked drinking this
Sure.
thing? Kevin's like, this is the best thing I've ever had. It's all cold. It's all ice. And then the camera pans down and his entire lap is just a puddle. It is a puddle.
One leg
Because
was
this thing's been melting on him for the better part. Because we're
one
in
leg
Austin,
was a puddle.
you know?
It's a clever idea though.
It was pretty genius.
Yeah, it was cool.
No,
It was
the
really nice.
cooler idea
Very
was the actual soda machine had the QR code on it, so you could go online, make whatever concoction you wanted, scan it in, and then hit push the button, and it would automatically do the mixture for you all at once. So you didn't have to go like vanilla, cherry, whatever. Not that I give a
You
shit.
had
'Cause
to
I
do
just
that on
drink
phone
diet.
instead, yeah.
Yeah, but it was pretty interesting concept. But they did have the machine that I find
Freestyle machine.
awesome, but completely and totally unnecessary, which is the one where it has the touch pad that is like one of those industrial grade touchpads that's so protected that you can't, like if you punched it, it wouldn't recognize the
You
impact.
get mad at it whenever you have to go to the movies and it's there.
God, it's,
I hate those things, dude.
the only reason I like it is because they have caffeine-free Diet Coke, and I firmly believe they put way too much caffeine in
There was
everything.
only one person that I knew that ever purchased caffeine-free Coke, and it was my grandma. It came in the gold bottle.
Yep.
And I don't even know where you found those in the store. They were just somewhere.
she did.
She found them. She had no problem.
Why
Try
do
harder,
we need caffeine in soda? Why do we need that there?
It does something to the flavor, though.
It does, and that's true because caffeine-free Diet Coke does not taste as good as
No,
regular
it's
Diet
fine,
Coke.
but it doesn't taste as
It
good.
doesn't. And I know everyone Diet Coke tastes like shit anyway. Not true. It's amazing.
True.
You can acclimate yourself to
Absolutely true.
anything. But yeah, there's
you
something about
can.
that. But it's fascinating. Every time I go to drink anything that's not water, it's got to have caffeine in it. I get weird looks because I've switched over to non-caffeinated coffee, and every time I go to Starbucks, I'm like, can I get a decaf coffee? And they're like, no,
Yeah.
we're out. We're
Well,
gonna
I
have to make you
remember
decaf
being a
Americano.
barista back in the day at one of the fucking local coffee shops.
You were a
over here.
barista?
Yeah, I was.
I didn't know that.
That was the whole fucking story. Me and Alfredo.
Was there?
I've told you the story.
He, like,
we
ran
had
a
to
coffee
ran
shop.
a coffee shop. That's the
was
story.
like-
You had
Next
to
week,
ran a coffee shop?
You should tell the story
We
next
ran
week.
a coffee shop.
Okay.
Next week, I'll make my topic.
Thank you.
Tim and Alfredo running a coffee shop because that was one of the best things in my life. But people would come in and ask us for decaf shit, and it was really just like, oh shit, let's see what we got back. Fucking the used condoms behind the thing. It was just like whatever's there, the thing that hasn't been cleaned for months. Like, yeah, that's what you're getting.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, I know.
When it'd be that thing that's just been sitting in the. If you ordered a decaf iced coffee, that's whatever's in the back of the fridge, and you would have just
Oh
got
no, I
that.
know. But it's.
What's your topic?
My topic is what's your favorite color? My favorite color is blue.
Oh,
Mine too.
Yeah, my favorite color is blue as well. Superman blue.
I'm gonna surprise you guys and shock you right now, and tell you what I think my favorite color probably is.
Oh God.
Heather gray.
Yep. There you go.
Wow.
There you
I
go.
didn't think about it.
Because it's neutral, and it looks good. How many Heather gray? Heather gray. There you go. Oh, that probably didn't start as a Heather gray. You may.
It did.
Oh, I guess it is.
It did. It's from my friends at,
Now that I'm looking at it, it's clearly distressed on purpose.
at Declaration Clothing.
Yeah, I like that.
Sends me shirts every once in a while. Appreciate them.
I'm a big Heather gray fan. I like the way it pairs with jeans and most pants. You can dress it up, you can dress it down, depending on the quality of the Heather gray.
Do you have a preference whether like more charcoaly heather?
I like
gray
it to be
or
a little lighter for
heather?
the day. Yeah, lighter most of the time. That's my favorite color.
Hmm.
I also have been thinking very heavily about getting some of those awesome parachute pants that are very much in vogue right now. You know, the ones that make you make everyone look like a ninja, like a street ninja.
The ones that have like the
Lewis pants.
elastic cuffs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Lewis
really want-
pants.
I have a pair.
Big Lou pants.
I have a pair of those, but those are sweatpants. I want going out pants. I want the ones.
Should be going out pants. You look fucking awesome.
Yeah,
I don't know if you should be going out in these
You
pants.
look pretty cool in them.
I've
The
gone
ones
out
you're wearing
in them.
now?
No. These
Oh.
are just jeans. But no, they're talking about the ones I wore at Kind of Funny Live, which is like camouflaged sweatpants that have sweatpants that have elastic at the bottom,
Yeah.
the legs, so that you can do the hip hop thing where you hike one up and then dance.
Oh, that's you're a
But
cool
you got to be
you're a
ready
cool
at
kid.
all times.
You got to
to-
dap like this.
Oh my
Is
God.
this how you do it, Tim?
So yeah, for those at home that didn't get to see this,
Please
topic,
take it easy on the
Colin,
walls. There's still a few more weeks
The
in the
dab,
studio.
yeah, which you're familiar with at least in concept. The dance.
Oh, I know,
move,
I know it. Yeah.
Good.
It's dab.
Yes, it's
D-A-B.
dab.
DAB, not dap.
Nope. But
DAP.
somehow it makes it better that you don't know how to pronounce it.
Is it on fleek or on fleek?
People are asking Nick to do it, and they taught him how to do it, and it was the saddest thing. Like, imagine your grandma that drinks the decaf Diet Coke. Yeah, imagine her doing it. That's what it was.
She'd probably do it better than you.
Where Nick, he did it so slow and just. Can you
He
show
looks
them?
straight in the
I'll
camera.
totally show you.
Stand up and do it.
The way I
And
think
also, you get your feet involved.
Here's the thing. The way I think you should dap is that it should be more. So you're doing it too hip hop. The original dapper, as they called it back in my generation,
Gotcha.
used to do it more like a human being was ice skating than anything else.
Get up and show him. I'll
I'll
describe.
go ahead and get up and show it right now.
Okay.
Right now.
Thank you. I'll describe. Nick's getting up if you're listening to MP3. Nick is in a heather gray shirt. Nick is about to dap. That mic's not on, of course. No, why would it? Kevin likes.
It should be more like this. Right.
Wait. He didn't get you.
Kevin doesn't know how to use a camera.
It's like in the corner here. Legs.
Oh,
Kind of
sorry.
like you're goose stepping
He
in a
does look
weird
like
way.
he's doing some kind of weird goose step
Give him
dance.
more legs.
That's how they did it in the 30s
People at
and
home
40s.
need to see your legs.
Oh, Jesus, Nick, are you okay? Nick just heel kicked, just fucking donkey kicked the goddamn table. Don't kick the table again. Be safe. You can't take that. Your body can't take that.
Yeah. Absolutely right. All right. So yeah, Colin, that's what you missed out at our test
good.
this weekend.
So you threw a little fascist goose step in there with the dab, and you got yourself.
Had you been there, you would have caught that. But I think everyone else is like, "What's he doing?"
What's he doing? That was me. Okay. Anyways, the reason that I wanted to ask this question about what's your favorite color, one of the first things you find out about people when you're a 5-year-old.
Sure.
Asking your friend, what's your favorite color? Because I know my favorite color. Now, my favorite color is blue, and I think a lot of people at home know that. My real question here is my infatuation with blue healthy for an adult?
Describe to me how infatuated you are with it.
I don't know. I mean, I feel
I don't
wanna
think you're
ask
that
you.
infatuated with it, but
Really?
I'm also, I'm not as deep undercover in your life as Kevin is.
Mm.
Like you wear blue a lot.
Mhm.
You wear blue collar shirts. That's your thing.
I feel like, okay, Nick, like you might have a better insight into my psyche on this.
Well, first
The
off,
logo's blue.
I love the concept that Kevin's been undercover this entire time and is in
Reporting back to us.
reporting back to us on all of your moves. No, I don't think so. I think honestly, it breaks down to what you feel complements your skin tone and your eye color and your overall like look. And I think blue complements you very, very well.
That's true.
I stay away from reds. I just don't like the way I look in red. I like the way I look in obviously neutral tones like heather blue and charcoal, or excuse me, heather gray and charcoal. Like occasionally I'll wear that Coca-Cola shirt and I just think I'm like, oh, this thing I kind of like. I only have one shirt that is that specific color. I mean, it's more of a pink shirt at this point because I've washed it so many times.
It
It's a
was a
heather
red and it turned into heather red and then it turned into pink.
But I think that there's like, you know, to a lot, blue is pretty much, it's probably a pretty commonly used color when it comes to clothing because it's
Superior to other colors.
Well, it's a great color, but like a lot of people look better in earth tones too. A lot of people like the greens or the earth tones, but I don't know. I gravitate toward more neutral colors now with a touch of color here and there.
I bring this up because my girlfriend, Gia, she once questioned me. She was just like, Tim, like you should not have a favorite color like that. Like that's a 5-year-old thing, not a 27-year-old thing where
I mean, certain colors, if you're really following fashion, certain colors do come in. Like there are certain color palettes that are happening for spring, winter, and fall.
People love tie-dye right now.
Do they?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
No, I can
I don't
guarantee
follow
you they
fashion.
don't.
I went to this fancy seafood restaurant, and all the waiters and waitresses were wearing tie-dye.
That was
called
at Joe's Crab Shack. It's like I went to that really great chicken wing place, and they were all wearing crop tops. It's called Hooters.
Oh, okay, that was good.
Yeah, there you go.
I was like, Wild Wing wears jerseys.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's ridiculous. Having said that, I do think that you don't have to always stick to just buying the blue shirt. Like I like the colorful shirts that you wear, regardless. Like I like the Vans shirt you had, where it was like pink and black and
with hints of blue.
Blue in it. Yeah. I don't mind that as a motif for you in general, but I mean, I like what you're wearing right now. I think you can pull off different colors. I think it's just
I've been
a matter of
adventuring
what you like.
little by little.
Like we all know Greg really loves black t-shirts.
We do.
Hides my sweat stains.
I actually really
And
like
my
black
titties.
t-shirts too, to the point where my wife was like, "You got to stop making and selling black t-shirts," because I was like, "Why?" She's like, "Look in the closet, and it's just all black t-shirts."
Hey, segue. Everyone in the comments, please let us know what color t-shirts you do want. Because at RTX, I got so many comments like, guys, stop selling black shirts. Like, give me some fucking color. I want to know what color. I'm going to do some research.
They want them in 3X and 4X.
Colin was right, and blue was in blue.
That was in blue.
There's been
That was a
we've
popular
had-
shirt.
No, I mean we've had like the aerobic
Sean
shirt was in
Finnegan
blue
was green
also.
and nobody wanted it.
Well, no one knew who Sean Finnegan was.
What's up,
then.
everybody was white. Nobody wanted it.
Excuse me.
That's
heard
true.
me.
Oh, okay.
Can I get a minority?
I think we could do a heather gray. I think that could be next. I think what I'd like to see is us do that heather gray in the kind of funny Golden Gate Bridge design.
No, do it Heather Gray and just say, "This is my Heather Gray shirt."
Nick's heather gray shirt. Give it back, motherfucker.
Yeah.
See, that's my thing. Like the Jeff Ramsey over
I know
at
him.
Rooster Teeth. He
Tattoos.
had the Jeff line, which was just shit that wasn't like him. It was just designs that he would wear on a t-shirt. I want to come up with our line of what our shit could be like. Because I just want to sell a nice blue button-up shirt.
That's awesome. I do
I
like
just
that.
call it, this is the Tim shirt.
Just
And
put
then we can have
obscure
Heather Gray.
historical things on a t-shirt, slightly faded.
4 scored 7 years ago.
I like
Colin.
don't give up the inlet shirt that I have or whatever is so obscure. It's an obscure reference to an obscure reference. Don't give up the ship is a War of 1812 reference from like the Battle of USS Chesapeake or something in 1814.
Mm-hmm.
And then the don't give up the inlet thing that I wore Kind of Funny Live is them just replacing ship with inlet to make it about Long Island.
Yeah.
And that was basically it. No one understands what that fuck that shirt.
I don't
When
know,
I
the
even
guy
saw
made
it on
that
there, I'm
shirt
like, what the
understands
hell is this? And then I just bought it anyway.
Classic.
So just come up with some obscure
I have an
shit.
idea. You know Grimecraft shirts?
With
the
all-
long sleeve shirts?
Yeah.
And that's his thing. A long sleeve shirt with all of Colin's tattoos on it.
Wow.
So where they all lie, including
The Moriarty
the
on the back.
Moriarty on your back.
Wow.
I like that.
That is a fucking awesome shirt. Are you putting anything on the front or is it just.
Do you have anything on the
No,
front?
he's got nothing on his front.
Then
You can
no.
put nips.
No.
Put a little chest.
Belly button?
He has a
I got-
smattering of chest.
I gotta be
hair.
honest with you. I there's a meme of me that circulates. There's a lot of memes of me that circulate, but there's a meme of me that circulates of someone taking a shit and then it's my face, like from that's a place over it from when I did the hot pepper review of Freedom Wars, and they put one of my tattoos on the guy's arm, but it's the Franklin snake on the wrong arm.
Come on, internet.
Come on, guys.
And I'm like, come on, guys.
understand how
Come
that
A
works.
whole
on.
conversation with Colin about these tattoos.
Come
and it was the first one ever
on.
to feature B-roll. Please show some respect.
Come on.
See, I like the idea. Tim, I like your idea of your blue shirt, and here's what I want to do with it. No
One
other
size
branding
fits all.
other than a little tiny like circle with a KF in it, like they do because I like when shirts do a little tiny something like
Oh.
right as underneath, like so it's
Yeah.
covered up, and when as it parts, you see a little like circle, blue circle with KF, like a neon blue circle
Yeah.
KF. That'd
That'd be
cool.
good.
I'd wear a cyan shirt. Like I'd wear.
Well,
a color blue.
I don't want to. I don't want
Well,
to
you
kind
want
of
to do
our
it blue, you
blue
want to do, like,
shirt. No,
baby
no, no.
blue, like
I
your
want something
baby
like a
blue?
shirt that I'd actually wear. Like I own like 5 shirts that look identical, but I don't care because
I
I
have
like
a great
them.
mint green shirt. If
You
it was
do?
like that, I would totally wear the shit out of it.
Yeah,
Button up.
we should do that. I wonder. I don't even know if button-up shirts are an option.
My shirt will be
I doubt
probably
it.
not.
I doubt it. I mean, you're gonna have to do one size fits all. Otherwise, you're gonna have a million like sizings in there. You're Rooster Teeth suddenly gonna become.
Well, they're not going to be.
Nordstrom's.
Think about not Nordstrom's. Think about like Express
Same
or
as any
something.
shirt.
Small, medium, large. They might be slim fit.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not talking about a fucking dress shirt.
So what do you want to wear?
Button-up
Well,
shirt,
button-up,
like the
that's
shirts
different.
I don't buy shirts that are like I don't know what the hell 38R or whatever the hell means. I buy large shirts, sometimes medium shirts.
Okay.
Yeah.
We could find a vendor that would do it.
He's a 40 long, says Kevin. All right.
Thanks,
I'm a
Kevin.
Howie long.
Mm,
No,
I don't get it.
Is that if I don't do it, that's what I get?
you get a soft punch right to the neckline.
Jesus Christ. My jugulars are over there.
I'm sorry.
No one touch me!
What would my shirt be? It would be a Heather Gray shirt, wouldn't it? That would be it.
Yes.
Just straight
Can I
up
do two
Heather
though? Can I
Gray.
do a Heather Gray and then can I also do a mesh cutoff shirt? Because I've always wanted to sell a mesh cutoff shirt. I don't know why.
sure that'll be a big seller.
You know, like those that football players
Yeah,
used to
yeah.
wear, it was like a football jersey where they just cut it off at the stomach so you could see my abs. I don't have any of those.
That's all I got, Greg.
If you didn't know, this is the Game Over Greggy Show. Each and every week, 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather around this table. It's okay, Porty. Each bring a random topic
It's not
discussion
Porty. The
for
world's ending.
your amusement. If you like that, head over to patreon.com/kindafunny. Toss us a couple bucks. You can get a bunch of exclusives. You can get a bunch of early access. You can get a bunch of cool perks. If you have no bucks to toss, head over to youtube.com/kindafunny where we post the show topic by topic, day by day, until the entire thing posts the following Friday. Until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.